Yeah, I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they bout to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat. Yo, grew my hair and took the grill out. Think it's time to put it back in. Trying to get into that big house, turn the crib into the mansion. Needed something with that big bounce. You know I had to hit Jackson. Aaron Rodgers with the quick routes. How with the gang we packing? We on the field at Lambo. Might peel in a Lambo. Murder drills in my camo. They know what the M stand for. Still got fam in Hawaii, yeah. Couple fans in the lobby, yeah. Couple grand in my pocket, yeah. Couple grams of wasabi, yeah. Eye it up, no glasses. Light it up, no matches. Wife it up, no ratchets. Might turn my wife to an actress. And we gon' make a movie, no Kim K. Give a fuck about what your friends say. I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they bout to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
I'm just sticking to the code, I keep it so G. She asked me what I smoke, I'm smoking OG. I don't fool with too many, only catch me 4 deep. Gotta stay away from snakes, swear these people so creep. I've been grinding for a minute, many labels so sleep. These rappers drop a song, be hot for about a week. I put Gucci on my toes, I keep some cold feet. I ain't paying for no hoes, you niggas know me. I'm about to body the beat. I keep me a hottie with me. She wanna for a fee. Give me that for free. Keep me some money on me. Smoking the gas, keep. You with me, sheesh. Bonito, cheap, keep.
I got money on my phone and money on me. I got all these hoes, but still lonely. They been blowing on that strong, but still so weak. I've been higher than a drone, but still low-key. We been sitting on the floor, they in the nosebleeds. Lately I've been in control, they can't control me. Yeah, they bout to get exposed for being so cheap. I've been sticking to the code and I ain't gon' cheat.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I blow soon, soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my broom, vroom. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm in a whip, so I gotta zoom. They tryna talk, they not in the room. I been so real, I'm dead to the tomb. They in the way, they gotta move. I got a gas, they running on fumes. Told them way back, it's something new. It's me and Dan, you gotta choose. I'm taking what's mine, I'm doing fine. Don't see the vision, they looking so blind. I hit my low, I don't got the time. Crossing my T's and he dotting those eyes. Don't take offense if I do not oblige. I can't relate but like none of these guys. They hit me once and I'm cutting the ties. I was so low but I'm back on the rise, it's real. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I blow soon, soon. Knew as a child, back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my broom, vroom. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom. I'm hopping now I gotta go. I'm looking back, they not even close. I had a 4, now I need a ghost. I got a wave like I'm on the coast. Same ones are down and I dare the show. So way that I'm ballin', they think I'm a pro. I'm getting sick by the money I gross. They saying whoa, I told them all what this is. I told them all I don't miss. Said it's my time, look at this shit on my wrist. And when they shootin' this brace, I'm going in a new gear, gotta shift. I cannot stick to the script, I cannot wait. Watch how I get it and flip. It's just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone. Ayy, just how I'm doing this shit and I'm gone.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me under man, like, you know I'm the man. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On a roll, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shout out to Roland's 420, bro. That's crazy work. That's crazy work. I do have an itchy foot, though, guys. I'm not going to lie. But what is going on, Mafia? Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you guys for being here and spending your precious time with the Candle Mafia on this beautiful Thursday evening. I had to double-check the day, guys. I thought it was behind a day. But, guys, we got a lot to look at on the charts today because if you guys have not taken a look, Bitcoin is in some super, super crazy price action. I'm just kidding, guys. Price action's complete booty cheeks right now. But we have gotten a little bit of a continuation up towards our bigger level of resistance. And I'm not going to lie, guys, it is looking like on Market Cypher B that we could potentially get another drop to the downside. So I'm going to go over the medium-term kind of scenario with you. We'll cover the key levels. To be honest, the biggest level of resistance remains exactly the same. So I'm going to break down my thought process here and kind of my trading plan and how I will personally be trading this price action here as Bitcoin just kind of like slowly creeps to the upside, suspiciously looking like she wants to dump. So, shout out to the Candle Mafia. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tony D in the chat. Shout out to Tony. Let me see here. I know Tony is traveling right now. Okay, cool. So he's here right now, but he is traveling, so he may not be here the whole time. I was wondering that. But there he is in the chat. Let's see. We got Shunzin in the chat as well. What is going on? We got One with Nature said he's smoking hopium. Shout out to Shunzin. Just make sure that is... Make sure you're not getting your hopium from the streets there. But shout out to you, man. Welcome in. We got Gen Z in the chat. We got Perry. We got New Earth Guardian. We got the mods, guys. We got Darren Does Things, Rob the Crypto Snob, Crypto Billy, Captain Kirk. You guys know who the mods are. Show them some love in the chat. We got Valerie, one of our elite female Candle Mafia members in the chat. What is going on, Valerie? P-Dub says, Darren, are you gardening? Has it started? Hope you enjoy the time off, man. Yeah, shout out to P-Dub and Darren Does Things. But guys, I don't want to go down. Shout out to Amina. Yeah, unfortunately, I'll break down Market Cypher B with you guys. There is an opportunity to get a bounce here, but I'll break down everything for you guys here right now. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into, smash that like button, the charts. Let's get into it. All right, let's see. And Eric in the chat as well. Hey, yo, Frankie, what's going on? Wow, the female Candle Mafia coming through today. But yeah, here we are, guys, as Bitcoin continues to march its way up here, at least locally. Actually, Bitcoin, like, beautifully respecting, like, all these local golden pockets from the higher low to the high. Bounce off the golden pocket, continue the uptrend. Where did we get the bounce from here? Well, sure enough, it came in on that golden pocket 786. And now we are currently approaching our local golden pocket /786 level. So I would say locally, guys, if we are going to see this kind of like perfectly symmetrical bounce to the upside, we may be able to see some support here locally. But to be quite honest with you, when we take a look at some of these higher time frames, guys, it is looking like we might be able to get a bigger drop to the downside. And I'll go over that in just a minute on Market Cipher B. But overall, the key levels of support and resistance, I'm not going to lie, guys, it might be a little bit of a short stream today. Will we do it? I don't know. I doubt it. But 100x short, Frankie's prediction on the length of this live stream, guys. But obviously, we have our bigger level of support up here in that $115,000 zone that we looked at yesterday. This is still the biggest level of resistance on the chart as of right now. Locally, if we are able to get the bounce here off that local golden pocket that I just pulled up from the low to the high here, if we are able to just get another higher low and another higher high, which again, I will bring on a market cipher and why that may not be the case. But if we do get the bounce there, I will say this is going to be that biggest level of resistance. It's not until we break above that value area low /786, again sitting at about 115,132 up to about 115,521. This is a huge level, guys, and there's no guarantee that we have to come up to this as well, right? Like, just keeping in mind, when I'm looking for trades, I'm looking for the highest confluent areas of support and resistance, right? I want multiple levels of resistance in those resistance levels to look for short positions, and then for the long positions, we want to have our key levels. And I will say, like, for me personally, I am either waiting for price to come up here to take another short position or a bigger move down to some lower levels. We have some local levels we can look at as well. But again, I am still a bit suspicious here of taking out this low, guys. And again, when we take a look at Market Cipher B, you'll have an idea of why I am looking at that. But for what it's worth, we're getting that nice little march to the upside. I am still holding my long position here, guys. And I'm not going to lie, I actually have not TP'd on this long position. I think I do have it up here on Femex. So you guys can see here, up about $900 on this trade. I have not taken support. I have not taken profits on this just yet. And the reason for it is because it is a pretty small position for me personally. I was looking to take a partial position and then add to it if we got a bigger drop down. But sure enough, we did just wind up coming up. So I haven't TP'd on that. Let me know in the chat, Tony D, if you are here. I know you're out there doing stuff, bro. So if you can't do it, no worries. But if you can, put up a poll here. What should we do, guys? Should I close the trade? Should I take that $900 and just wait for the next trade? Should I take partial TP? Should I let it run? Now, just to be aware, just to make you guys aware here, my stop loss is at break even, so I'm not just going to get wrecked on this trade if I leave it going. This is a risk-free trade. I can hold it. If it pays me out more, there we go, 900. If it pays me out more, beautiful. If it stops me out, I'll stop out at break even. I do have a little bit of negative fees here. But Tony, if you could drop that poll if you're available, please do that. Maybe we'll let the Mafia control this one. Should we just hold it for the risk-free potential upside, or should we lock in some profits? Let me know. But we are approaching this local level of support, but for the most part, guys, this local price action, I'm more willing to wait for these bigger levels. If we come up first, I will look for another short position inside of this resistance zone. This whole zone does sit between about 114 and 115,533. Golden pocket value area low, 786, right? And we also do have our anchored VWAP. Let me go ahead and pull this up as well. Pulled from the all-time high, coming in there as well, right? Massive level of resistance. We broke down below this anchored VWAP, couldn't get above, and we continue that downtrend, right? So if we come up here, it is just naturally going to be a place where I will be looking for those bearish confirmations with the premium Discord to see if we can catch another short position to the downside. In that case, guys, if we put the lower high in here, we could anticipate a break of the low to continue our bearish market structure here. And obviously, we had shorted the fake out of the all-time high here, identifying that our money flow was coming out here on the 4-hour time frame, indicating any of those bounces to the upside would be lackluster for lower highs and lower lows, which we have now seen. And then we have that nice long position from down here in the premium, which I am holding right now. I actually got a little bit of a worse entry here. Didn't enter in directly at the low, but I did catch a little retracement there to catch that move to the upside. So not too shabby, but at the end of the day, this is the next big level of support, resistance, and then for the bigger levels of support, guys, we still have that 107 or 108 to $107,000 zone where we have the golden pocket, right? This was our first. We are already bouncing off the top of this zone. It started with the daily MPOC, which is now tapped. We had that long position. That is now playing out. But if we do come back down here and break structure to continue this move to the downside, and again, it's not that we have to push up here to put in the lower high, but this is kind of the biggest fib level, right? It's pulled from the swing high to the swing low. I do believe we're probably coming up to a local Fibonacci retracement here. Yeah, so we are rejecting that local golden pocket. So, it's not possible to reject from the local fib, but for me personally, I would just rather sit out and wait for that bigger level. If not, we'll get that move to the downside. And I guess maybe the... yeah, let me know. Before you guys put that in here, maybe I'll ask you guys, yeah, maybe I'll ask you guys. Take 200 for me, Frankie. Shout out to Crypto Owl. Yeah, maybe we'll let you guys decide what we do with it. But, again, if it does come down, worst case scenario, if we just like mega nuke here, I'll get stopped out at break even there. No big deal. And then we'll just look for some new bounces off of this next level of support. Now, as you guys know, we've covered this so many times recently. When we take a look at Market Cipher B, right, obviously that 4-hour money flow coming out made us indicated the continuation of the downside, right, which makes a lot of sense because that's what we saw happen. But now we do see this, guys, the 8-hour money flow looking to potentially roll over here, in my opinion, right? VWAP coming to the 0 line, looking to print that red dot with our money flow. Sure, it is faking back out into the green here, but we've already spent a good amount of time in the green. It might just be one of those little lower highs before eventually continuing out into a bigger red wave, which would indicate, whether we come up here or come down from where we are, it would indicate the continuation of that downtrend. We also have some low time frame money flow coming out. The 30-minute money flow is crossed over into the red. The 15-minute money flow is crossed over into the red. And when we take a look at the 8-hour here, right, if we get that 8-hour red dot, this is what I'm going to be looking for a potential continuation to the downside. 8-hour red dot with that 30-minute money flow crossover into the red. If we can get that to happen at a somewhat similar time, right, if this is starting to show up when we have that confluence, right, it would indicate to me that, this 30-minute money flow continuing into the red would give us that local continuation of a downtrend, potentially giving us that bigger pullback. And eventually, right, with that 8-hour money flow crossing into the red as well, or looking to cross over into the red, we could anticipate a break of structure to the downside here, cracking that low that we originally got the bounce from, pushing us into the major key level of support, which we've covered so many times here on the channel, guys. This is the biggest level of support on the chart as of right now. Let me go ahead and stretch this out a little bit. I will hide the current range. I will hide the daily, and I will also pull up our macro volume profile here. This is the biggest level, guys. We do not want to lose this level. If we are going to put in that lower low, we are really hoping that we can hold support here and get back up and start getting moving here. And I'll be honest, guys, I don't know how likely that is going to be with the way that this higher time frame money flow looks. And again, getting stuck under this volume profile is going to be a much more bearish situation where we really have to start being very careful on those retracements to the upside, trying to indicate whether we are going to go into new all-time highs, or, I would just say it would look a lot prettier to hold this level of support in order to look for new all-time highs. So once we break down below this, guys, I am going to be looking for lower prices on Bitcoin. $104,000, 786. We have the daily MPOC very close to that at about 102K. But at that point, right, if we get accepted into this volume profile, we could be looking for a much bigger drop down longer term into that $92,000 value area low, which would be kind of the, major target for that dump. Now, we are very likely to get some kind of bounces from these levels, whether it's this golden pocket, the value area low, or the 786. But with the way money flow looks, if we do not start to see that money flow shape up, guys, it is going to start looking a bit more bearish, in my opinion. Once we get that move down, if we do, right, on those bounces to the upside, it's all eyes on money flow, like we were talking about yesterday. On these retracements back to the upside, we have to keep an eye on that higher time frame money flow, because if that weekly money flow is coming out, if that 4-day starts crossing over, this can be very, very early indications of a much bigger monster drop to the downside. And hopefully we do not have to deal with that. And at the end of the day, right, until we break that down into this range and see that happen, there really is no reason to think that, right? Because we could easily, maybe hold on to this support, maybe the money flow fakes out, but it's not until we wind up losing this level where I start to be a little bit more, start to take a little bit more of a bearish stance here and looking to short lower highs for lower lows. And I mean that on a higher time frame. Obviously, we had that locally here with the 4-hour market structure continuing to the downside with our money flow coming out. But if we get that bigger drop, right, we're looking at money flow like the 4-day, even the 3-day, 5-day, 6-day, right? Like, this is stuff that we do not want to see come out, because that would be much more macro bearish. And we all know that that weekly money flow crossover into the red is the big sign to look at to potentially say, hey, maybe the top is in for Bitcoin, right? It's definitely a possibility here, but it's not my base case until we start breaking down below those key levels of support. So that longer term sentiment remains exactly the same. Just kind of sitting here, guys, waiting for this chop. We talked about yesterday how I would be expecting some chop in here, and it's just been kind of like brutal, this grindy price action here. So, those are the local levels. We'll see if we can hold this golden pocket 786 to get a bigger bounce to the upside into our major level of resistance. And then just an honorable mention here, guys. If we do wind up getting another push down, if we are unable to hold this like hyper local golden pocket, let me just zoom in here so I can pull this for you, right? If we don't wind up holding this hyper local golden pocket 786, The next real level that we have, there is some levels down here. Again, I would much prefer a break of the low, right? And I know that sounds weird. Like, why would I want a break of the low? Well, if we start to look at some of these higher time frames, such as the 8 hour, if I pull up that lower volume profile, right? Actually, you know what? I'll pull it up here on the macro value area because this just looks a little bit cleaner. If we do come down and break that low here, what are we going to start to see potentially form here on the 8 hour, right? That red dot prints, momentum wave comes down. If we are able to hold support here with a lower low on price action, well, hey, maybe we can start to print a little bit of a bullish divergence here on the 8 hour. And once we get those higher time frame bullish divergences, which for argument purposes, right, we do have an 8 hour bullish divergence at the current low, but you might be able to see kind of like third drives of bullish divergence or second drives of bullish divergence into that key level, right? And we try to front run these bullish divergences so we could be ready, right? It's like, what are we going to be looking for down here? Not that I would enter based off the 8 hour bull div, but if we start putting in that bullish divergence, maybe your low time frame money flow starts coming back up. It could indicate that you can get somewhat of a bounce there. But again, it's all going to have to do with money flow on if we're going to be anticipating a much bigger rip to the upside to new all-time highs, or if we should keep our eye out for those lower highs and lower lows to come. So that is going to be really what I'm looking for, and that's kind of why I prefer to see that drop down to get those bigger bullish divergences. However, we cannot ignore that we do have some confluence down here if I pull up our lower volume profile, and this does sit on the daily MPOC / value area high, and we also have our golden pocket from the low to the high here. We have this nice little local zone, and again, me personally, I would much rather see a break of that low, but we do have this support level right here, which is worth paying attention to in case we do hold that full golden pocket 786 from the low to the high. You could potentially see something like this if we're not going to go ahead and break that low, put in that higher low, and then continue your move to the upside, in which case the resistance levels, we'll have new ones, but the major resistance levels are going to remain the same within our upper range here. Again, $115,000 zone. Whether we come up first or come down first, right? This is still going to be the biggest level to get above. This would be the first sign of strength, in my opinion, that we could see a continuation up to the POC, and then eventually, if we're able to get above that POC, we can look to get into that value area high, and that would be the bullish case, right? But I am going to be anticipating, especially with the way that money flow and market cipher B looks like on the 8 hour, even the 6 hour, money flow coming out. VWAP coming down, looking for that red dot. I mean, this just screams to me that, more downside is probably ahead. So, first local level of support I'd be looking at, daily MPOC, value area high 786, between 110,421 and 109,636. But again, I would much prefer a much more, stronger macro signal with those massive bull divs into our major key level of support. I'll be honest, guys, I am anticipating to come visit this level, if I'm being totally honest. Hopefully we don't have to do it, right? Just because I'm anticipating that doesn't mean it's guaranteed. But, that's my thought process. Come up here looking for the new shorts. Come down here. Maybe I'll look for little day trades or scalps off that level, but for the most part, my next big levels I'll be looking at for trades are going to be sitting up here and down here. $115,000 zone, and then the $108,000 to $107,000 zone. So other than that, guys, I mean, all we could do is just wait for this price action to play out. We'll see if that 8 hour red dot prints. In that case, I will be anticipating, especially if this 30-minute money flow continues down, right? Money flow crosses into the red. Well, what are you going to be looking for? Probably going to be looking for lower highs and lower lows, right? So yeah, that's my thoughts on Bitcoin, guys. Pretty simple, pretty simple. I don't want to overcomplicate things. Just not really too much to update here as we just grind to the upside. So let's see. Isn't this the time in the cycle when supply shock takes effect? Shout out to Celinda. I mean, yeah, I don't really. Not something I really would look at, to be quite honest with you, right? Yeah, it's like in that case, you're kind of trying to go off timing, which is a lot harder to predict rather than just like looking at the technical factors. So yeah, it's just not something I really pay attention to. Maybe, you could look back and try to see if that's the case, but just not something I would pay too much attention to, right? If I have money flow coming out, if I see, and again, I don't want anyone to like, get freaked out here. I don't want to like sound like I'm like super bearish here, right? There's no reason to get super bearish yet until we break that $107,000 zone, guys. Again, there is still an opportunity here to bounce off that major macro value area high golden pocket, right? So like I'm totally fine, right, with something like this, right? That would still keep me in the camp of like, hey, we could still see that parabolic top come in on Bitcoin. Obviously, alts will eventually follow, but it's not until we lose this, right? Because, again, getting accepted into the volume profile, and I think the volume profiles do an amazing job of kind of like letting you know, what key levels you don't want to break down below, right? It's not just this key level. It's the fact that it is a value area high and getting stuck underneath that is much more bearish. That's why I don't love the 786 as much. Will I probably be looking for longs down here? Yes, but we have to view those as day trades or scalps until proven otherwise, because if it's just a local bounce with money flow coming out and you're looking for lower highs and lower lows, getting stuck under that value area high is going to be a big level to watch, which would indicate and give you that target of the $96,000 to $97,000 POC, and then potentially that $90,000 to $92,000 value area low on the macro golden pocket. We also have the CME gap in there somewhere. So yeah, it's not until we break down below that where we'll have to deal with that kind of difficult situation. But until then, right, like there's really nothing here saying, that there's a super big sign of weakness just yet. But to be honest, I am kind of expecting to at least have to play with this again. So yeah, we'll have to I'll keep you guys updated every step of the way. But yeah, just to that's pretty much my full-on thoughts, guys. Not really much to update here. Kind of booty cheeks price action, to be quite honest. Other than just like holding these perfect golden pockets. And somebody asked me in the live stream the other day, like, where's a good time to add into a trade, right? Like if you're expecting a continuation up based off your money flow, right? Let's say you missed your long position down here. Let's say you missed the long position here. Let's say you missed the long position here, right? You're not going to chase that long position as price is coming up. This is always going to be a bad idea. But what would you wait for, right? You would wait for a retracement, right, into a key level where you would anticipate a higher low and a higher high to come, which would be inside of your golden pocket 786 retracement. And because this has been respected so well, this is a perfect kind of learning opportunity where it's like, hey, if I'm holding a long down here and I want to add to that position, which I'm personally not interested in, but if you were, right, you want to wait for those retracements into the level where you're looking for the higher low to continue. Right? So let's say you take like a partial position down here, you ride it up and you're like, hey, I think this is going to continue. I want to add, wait for that retracement, look for those local golden pocket retracements. And then this would be an area to either add to your position or potentially look for a new position if you missed your entries from lower. And this is just, like I said, like this golden pocket, low, high, higher, low, higher, high. Same thing here, right? You had your fib from the low. Where is it? Right here, right? From the low to your high, right? You come into the golden pocket. You don't know if it's going to come in between the golden pocket or the 786. Sometimes you dig into both like you did back here. But again, low, high, higher low is going to come in this zone if that's what you were expecting. Higher low, higher high, you break structure to the upside, another drop down. And again, you get that fib that I just had pulled right here into the golden pocket 786. High, higher low, higher high, right? Which is why I'm saying, right, expect some support here, which we already started to get a little bit of a bounce on the what? Golden pocket. Right? I'm not interested in adding to this position just with the way money flow looks like on higher time frames. So yeah, I'm just kind of like a sit in the long position and chill kind of situation here, guys. So yeah, let me come back into chat here real quick. Solana broke 210 after 4 tries. Yes, as we have been looking at on Solana here, guys. Still patiently waiting for Solana to potential. Oh, there we go. We hit the POC. I didn't even see this. So we've been talking about this forever, guys. Like, still think that doorway to the POC is open. And you could see how, confusing of a ride it can be. You get above the value area low. This opens the door to not only put in your higher high on price action, which you did get, because we did bounce off the golden pocket for a high, a low, a high, a higher low, a higher high, which is absolutely beautiful. But within the volume profile, right, once you get above this value area low, anytime you're above this level, right, the doorway to the POC is open. We front run it slightly. We calm down, right? We get another bounce. We're still within the profile. We said this yesterday. As long as you don't lose this value area low, the doorway to the POC is open. And finally, we have seen that target hit, guys. It just goes to show how high probability, well, how confusing, right? Like, there's, oh my God, we're not going to hit the POC, right? But you don't lose the value area. That doorway to the POC is open. The POC is going to act as a magnet for price, and you get sucked right up there. And we tap that to the exact dollar at about 216.90. I've been looking for this target for quite some time. It was a rough road, but finally you could see how magnetic those POCs can be, and we have hit that target. So finally, check it off the list. We got the higher high, and we finally got, I mean, to be honest, like, pretty shocking once you break the, you would think if you're going to put in that higher high, boop, just tap into that POC, but no, it has to confuse you. But power of the volume profiles, guys, remain inside your profile. Doorway to the POC remains open, and there is that target finally hit. Whew! That was a long ride. That was a long ride. But let's see here. What about the one-day green dot? Shout out to Priochi. Yeah, we do have the daily green dot printing. This is something we looked at yesterday, right? We also have our 80-minute and 90-minute money flow. Was looking really good before. Maybe this green dot drags us back into the green on money flow for the daily. I'm sorry, for the 80-minute, right? 80 and 90-minute money flow crossovers into the green with your daily green dot printing at the same time is a bullish market cipher B116 setup. But again, you have some mixed signals here, right? You have the 8-hour red dot about to print with the money flow generally trending out. So you do have some mixed signals there. Again, if we do continue up, I am going to expect this to be the next target. If we come down, personally, I'll be looking for a break of the low, but just understand you have that key level of local support that we have down here on that daily MPOC that I just brought up. Daily green dot, 80 and 90-minute money flow. Honestly, this was looking pretty dang good today or earlier. It was looking pretty good for that bigger continuation up. But we'll see. At this point, we have mixed signals, right? Like, could you see that play out? Maybe. In that case, I will just continue to hold my long position into the level I've been waiting for anyway. And then if that 8-hour steps on us, right, we'll probably see that more bearish case play out. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. That anchored VWAP as well is just going to be such a major level of resistance. So, yeah, I mean, generally this doesn't look that bad. But, we're about to confirm this green dot. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens here, guys. I'm kind of indifferent here on the lower time frames, to be quite honest. Like, I would say medium term, high time frame, I would still expect new all-time highs as of right now until we start losing the bigger key levels of support. Medium time frame, right, I would not be surprised if we take the low. And then short time frame, I'm kind of indifferent, right? It's either come up here or come down there. So short time frame, it's kind of yeah, I would say, cautiously optimistic, maybe I could say, with that 80-minute and 90-minute money flow crossing into the green. But I'm just sitting in my position here, risk-free long. Shout out to New Earth Guardian, said, I expect a lackluster pump and then a finish of sweeping the lows. Yeah, I mean, my preferred, if I had exactly what I wanted to play out here, I would love this, right? Boom, catch a short position, right? Take profits on the long, maybe close the trade in full, depending on what money flow looks like, right? And then get the lower high and the lower low. Right, that would be my preferred situation, right? And then get those higher time frame bullish divergences for a potential additional swing long opportunity into new all-time highs. But again, this is the make or break level, guys. If we have to come back down here, make or break, guys. And we have the local volume profile. If I hide the macro profile, right, again, like I said, that 786 is a level of support. We can't ignore that, right? Especially as a day trader, we're always looking for those little intraday bounces, right? Like, even though we are anticipating lower highs and lower lows here, we're still making money on these little bounces, right? Like this little tiny bounce to the upside with a smaller position size for me than normal, still able to make about $1,000 on these little moves to the upside. So, we have to be aware of all the local levels. And just to be aware here, 786 is confluent with our local value area low, right? So instead of just like looking for the massive drop directly down to 92K right away, right? Well, we could just view this volume profile and we understand, even if I hide the golden pocket, we understand that this is confluent with the POC. We're hoping, worst case scenario, you bounce off here and then send it back out. But if not, you lose that POC. What are we going to expect? We're going to expect that value area low. If we lose the golden pocket, what are you going to expect? You're going to expect that 786. And these are confluent in support, right? So we can look for bounces here, but again, you just have to be aware that it could be lackluster for lower highs and lower lows, whether you come up to the high or reject the POC. You just have to be aware that these bounces, you have major resistance above you when looking at that macro profile. So yeah, like locally, 104 to 104 755, right? That is support. I would just much rather bounce off that golden pocket to keep our bias here for looking for that new all-time high sooner than later. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. Let's see. Shorter time frames, please. Shout out to N. We actually did take a look at the shorter time frames, bouncing off that local golden pocket. So just scroll back to the beginning of the stream, and you should see that. We just have a little local golden pocket that we're bouncing off of right now. I'll just pull it really quickly for you here from the low to the high. We are bouncing off that golden pocket right now. But I did go over the lower time frames earlier in the stream, so just scrub back and you will see all that sauce for the lower time frames. End of week pump, weekend dump. Shout out to New Earth Guardian. I would like that. And listen, guys, this is the biggest level on the chart, right? But again, it wouldn't even necessarily be get above this value area low, then new all-time highs, right? I would be looking at value area low. That opens the door to take out that liquidity that we have sitting up here towards 118.3. But this is still a big level of resistance, right? Because if you start pulling your macro Fibonacci retracement, you do have to understand that on that POC, you have the golden pocket confluence and the 786 confluence. It wouldn't be until we start cracking that 786, in my opinion, right? Sure, getting above that value area low would be nice, right? But that would really only call for a push into this liquidity into 118.3. It's not really until we start breaking that 786 that I would be looking for new all-time highs, right? That would be the doorway to new all-time highs, sitting at 121.120. So there's a lot of resistance here, guys. That's the one bad thing about like dropping through a volume profile like this. We have to deal with all this new resistance that we have above, right? Like you held up here. Once you break it, like you're coming up to bearishly backtest all this major resistance, which is, you just have to be aware and cautious on the way to the upside. Shout out to Bruno Fonseca. Thank you for the super chat, bro. He says rising wedge. I think that says on the 2-week logarithmic. Check from PT. I'm not 100% sure exactly what that means, Bruno, but we could see. Let me try to take a look here at the 2-week. I think that's what you're mentioning here. Where are we at? 2-week. Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, right, like I am not a huge pattern trader. Not that you can't trade patterns, but I do not trade them alone. I've explained this in detail many a times. We've seen examples of why it's not a great way to trade alone. But when you combine it with other confluences, it can be something useful to look at. But let's see here, 2-week. Yeah, maybe you see a little bit of this, a little bit of like a rising wedge kind of situation. Yeah, I mean, it looks like a rising wedge to me. Again, not something I would generally trade alone. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be, I would consider that a rising wedge potentially. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Shout out to Bruno. Hopefully that's what you were talking about. So shout out to Bruno. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Alts are going. Yeah, so we'll take a look at some of the altcoins as well. Take a look at that. We'll start off here at Ethereum. That's Solana. Where's Ethereum here? Okay, yeah, so, again, same thing here with Ethereum, guys. Like, potentially getting accepted into this macro profile, right? This is your key level, right? Like if you can't break and hold this as support, I would not be looking for a very big move to the upside. If you're looking for a big move up on ETH, like, yeah, I mean, taking a look at the weekly, right? That weekly red dot is now printing. We've talked about this forever, right? Once that weekly red dot prints, it could give you that bigger drop to the downside. It doesn't mean you can't come up locally, but I would keep this in mind when you're looking for like massive moves up on ETH, right? Like it's not very common that you have a fresh weekly red dot and you just like Lambo candle through that signal, right? Sure, it could unprint, but we've been waiting for this weekly red dot for quite some time, which could indicate another ebb or flow to the downside before finally putting in higher lows and then much bigger breakouts into new all-time highs. So I would still be cautious of downside here, but when we look at the local volume profile here, right? Value area high sitting at 45.34, POC sitting at 4,084, and then your value area low sitting at 39.34. These are going to be the key local levels of support. We looked at this when Ethereum was breaking down below its value area, right? We come down, we get a little support on the value area high, you break back in, you try to break back out, but you just can't do it. At that point, right, the next likely place for price to go is that POC, and we finally saw that target hit. Where'd you get the bounce from? Right from that POC, and you could see that the volume profile did not fill in full here, but again, there's going to be signals usually on like the lower time frames. If you have bullish divergences down here with money flow coming up on the lower time frames, it's possible that you can front run that value area low and just get the bounce off the POC, especially if you have like some kind of confluence up in there. I don't know if we actually did. I wasn't personally looking at any confluence there, but maybe you had like a golden pocket sitting on that POC or something like that. Depending on where you pull it from, maybe the impulse. You get the bounce off the POC, but at this point, right, it's kind of the same thing, right? Deviation above the high. Once you get stuck inside that volume profile, the next likely place for price to go is the POC. And we are kind of in a similar situation. We got the all-time high break. We got bearish divergences. There's your confirmation. You come down. You try to get above. You can't break out. You can't break out. I'm not saying it's impossible to break out here, but again, looking at some of your money flow here, your 4-hour money flow, big green wave, been wiggling around here. This is impossible to analyze. This has just been chopping back and forth. You're in the red, you're in the green, 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 you're in the red, right? So it's like a little hard to call that. This is just like analyzable, if you will. But I would pay a little bit more attention to the key levels in my own personal opinion, right? Even the 8-hour money flow generally starting to trend to the downside. The higher time frame money flow can kind of delete a little bit of that noise that you have on the lower time frames, right? And that 8-hour money flow is definitely trending to the downside. So I would say, as you're trying to get stuck inside this key level of resistance, if you can't get a big breakout from this level, right, you get stuck in here, I'm going to be looking down towards that POC at $4,084. right? And if you can't, maybe you get a little turbulence there, right? But maybe you get an 8-hour green dot, you get a little bit of a bounce. But if that money flow continues into the red, you got to anticipate lower highs and lower lows targeting the value area low of the range. Now, this would not make me think that Ethereum's never going to go back up, right? Even if you lose that value area low, we can obviously look down towards this value area high, which we brought up on every single live stream recently, sitting at 35.34. This is a massive, massive level of support, similar to what we saw happen on Bitcoin's massive retest of its macro value area. It's the same exact situation. I don't want to cover this too much because I've covered this like 40 times in the past 2 weeks, but macro 786, this is your doorway to higher prices, right? Or new all-time highs. Sure, we put a little new all-time high in, but for the most part, this is the doorway. Once you hold on top of this, right, that's where you're looking for the new big all-time high. And this is a very similar situation as Ethereum, right? We are above the macro. We're above that macro 786, but it doesn't mean that you can't slip it, right? You break above, you hold it, right? But eventually, you might want to come down and retest that range high exactly like Bitcoin did back here, right? You hold it, oh my God, new all-time, oh my God, is it all over? No, you're just retesting your range high from all the way back here. But if Bitcoin had cracked back into this value area, well, then you have to expect a much bigger drop to the downside. It's the same thing on Ethereum here. If we break down below that value area high, right, this would indicate that, hey, maybe we can look for a bigger drop to the downside, not necessarily a fulfill of the range. And the reason I would not look for a fulfill of the range, at least off the bat, is because if you pull your fib from this low to the high, right, you do have your golden pocket 786 sitting in here. And when you have your weekly money flow crossing into the green like this red dot is not necessarily indicating a massive new downtrend to the bear market, right? It would more indicate, now I'm not saying that can't happen, right, but this is more indicative of a lackluster retracement for a higher low and higher high, whether it comes down to your local value area low, your macro value area high, or maybe you have to slip back into this profile for a surprise rip to the upside. I don't want to deal with this situation because, again, just like on Bitcoin, if you break into this profile and you start bouncing off that golden pocket, you got to be real careful around that value area high. So I prefer, just like I would have on Bitcoin back here, I would have preferred not to break down below that value area high, which we didn't have to do, which was very nice. We just held it, flipped that 786, and then pushed into all-time highs as we expected. Same exact thing on Ethereum here. It's the same 786. It's the same value area high pulled from the bull market. It's all the exact same stuff. Bull market value area, macro 786, macro 786, and Ethereum is just kind of playing around. We're kind of in this area. So yeah, I just would not want to lose that value area high. If so, I wouldn't say it's all over, but we're going to have to deal with a much more difficult situation. So there you go. Local levels and macro levels on Ethereum. Not until we lose 35.34 where I would start to, worry about some lower prices. But again, weekly money flow would indicate the trend is overall going to continue to the upside, right? So it would be an ebb or flow to the upside. To the downside for a higher low and a higher high. I would still be looking for buy the dip scenarios on Ethereum. So there you go. That's what I'd be looking at. Let's see. The Solana charge continues. Yeah, shout out to Crypto Night. I'll just cover this briefly because we kind of already talked about it. The push into the POC finally got that point of control to get tapped, which is very nice to see. That was our major target. And hey, I mean, we have our golden pocket sitting up there. So I would say like the next targets to the upside for Solana would be, actually, let me see this real quick. If I pull from the low to the high, and again, just to show you guys the power of these Fibonacci retracements, right? When you're looking for your break of structure here, I think I took this golden pocket off the chart, right? Yeah. So when you're looking for this break of structure to the upside, we had a golden pocket that we bounced off of, making us think, right? I'll try to pull this. Was it this one? Let me just try to see which one that was. Yeah, so we have this golden pocket sitting here. You have your low, your high. If you're looking for a higher low and a higher high for a break of structure to the upside, you're going to be looking for that higher low on the golden pocket or the 786, right? And what do you get? Low, high, higher low, right where you would expect it for a higher high to come. What happened here, right? If you're looking for a continuation of that trend for for another higher low and higher high, where would that likely come in at? Well, you're going to pull your fib from the low to the high. And where do you get that bounce from? Right from your golden pocket 786 Fibonacci retracement. And what happens? Break of structure to the upside. Your will it break level would have moved up here. And then that target being the POC, right? So I would say the next targets to the upside at this point, right? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if you get a little more turbulence here, but just keep in mind, right? Like, again, this is resistance. Don't be scared if resistance is, right? But, next target to the upside would be sitting right here. We already tapped that POC, so let me just go ahead and adjust this box here real quick into the golden pocket, right? So the next target to the upside locally here would be sitting between 219.30 all the way up to about 225.37. That's local, right? But macro, I mean, when you just look at this from a volume profile perspective, let's take all the other intermediary levels off the chart, right? Well, from a volume profile perspective, break into your value area high. You're eventually expecting potentially a confusing kind of journey into that POC. At the end of the day, once we break above that point of control, you could look for a push, eventual push into that value area high at 238.07. That would be a longer-term, high time frame target, but it doesn't mean you can't pull back again, especially when you have the POC. And even if we push up here again, right, you might kind of wick above here and then get that rejection off the golden pocket. This is a big level, guys. This golden pocket is, I believe, the golden pocket from all the way from the high. Yeah, all the way from the high here at 295 all the way to the April lows. Right, so this is a macro golden pocket retracement. So you got a lot of resistance up here locally, but from a simple perspective, like longer time frame, right, take all those intermediary levels off the chart, right? You even have a monthly up here. I would say the next target is really sitting up here at that value area high. Even if you get some, oh my God, Solana's dumping again. What the heck, right? As long as you stay within the profile, flip that POC, you could look up towards that value area high. Now you might say to yourself, well, if I'm looking for a higher low and a higher high, where would I look for that to come in at? Well, where'd it come in here? Came in right on the golden pocket 786. So what would we look at here? I would look at the same exact thing. Pull from the low to the high. You have a potential golden pocket 786 sitting here at about 197.25 down to about 191.89. But overall, this is your volume profile. 183.91 at the value area low. POC at 216.90. Value area high sitting at 238.07. As long as you remain within the range, could look. And who knows? You might chop around here forever, right? And then eventually you get up there and flip to the high. I can't tell you exactly when this will fill, but I will say, though, those are definitely the next big targets to the upside. And just keep in mind that you do have that golden pocket above you. So, yeah. And this monthly sitting at about 231.33. But overall, through the volume profile, that value area high sits at about 237, 237.80 to be exact. So there you go. Shout out to Dr. Crimson's girlfriend said, BRB, starting a male strip club called the Banana Zone. Shout out to Dr. Crimson's girlfriend. Let's go. Good to see you in here. We have the same sense of humor. But anyway, let's see. Absolute bloodbath of a bull market. Shout out to Panda the Prophet. Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, this has just been brutal, to be honest. I mean, Bitcoin, obviously, I've covered this so many times, right? Like, Bitcoin, just like nothing really. I mean, this bull market for Bitcoin has been absolutely beautiful, right? It's been like one of the cleanest uptrends you can ever find on a chart. Altcoins, not so much, right? And we've even talked about after sweeping potentially this high, the all-time high here, we could see some effery come into the markets, guys. We still have all those macro signals. We have the RTY, right? The breakout of the RTY, right? This is typically good for the rest of the markets, right? This will likely is what we see more often than not when we see the altcoins pump. Last time this happened was in December, November. What were the altcoins doing? I always bring up XRP because it's a very clear example. November, December, absolute explosion to the upside. This is all in line with the RTY breakout, with the potential rate cuts coming down the line. With the Ethereum money flow coming into the green on the weekly, like there's a lot of stuff that is pointing. I would still say, right, like it is still, my longer term sentiment is still bullish for a potential alt season to come in, but you have to expect some effery to come on into the charts, right? It's more likely that the chart will trick you rather than just give you the beautiful play out, which is what most beginners in crypto want. They want, oh, I saw the altcoin prediction videos that my favorite influencer posted. This means the bull market's on. I'm going to get rich overnight, right? This is not how the market moves. The market likes to confuse you and trick you as much as it possibly can. The market likes to wreck as many people as possible, which it has done a beautiful, beautiful job of doing. Retail excitement, absolute, chop / downtrend. People buy in on the excitement. They can't stand it anymore, right? And then they come back in on the excitement. They buy in. They think they're going to get rich overnight. They get chopped out of the market, right? So it's been an absolute brutal time for people who have come in a little bit late, especially for the altcoins, right? Like very few altcoins have been performing super, super well against Bitcoin throughout this entire cycle. So yeah, altcoins have been, this has been the most difficult cycle for altcoins, 100%. I can't disagree with that. But yeah, we'll see. Well, Band of the Prophet said, I think this is the first red bull run with smart money being in heavy, and they are just wrecking retail. Yeah. I mean, you want the big money to come in, right? It is positive to have the big money come in, but at the end of the day, it does kind of invite the demons into the chat, right? Because they will manipulate that stuff. But listen, just because they're big money does not necessarily mean they are smart money. So keep that in mind, right? It's like they can make really bad trades as well, and they could also be really irresponsible sometimes. But Okay, shout out to Tony D said poll is up. Okay, yeah, so go vote on that poll, guys. I will just do whatever chat does for this because, like I said, I might stop loss at break even, so I don't really mind this. It's zero risk for me. What should Frankie do with this trade? Let it ride, take profit, close the entire position. Right now, let it ride is 55%. Good Lord. Nobody wants me to make money. I'm just kidding. But yeah, and as far as like more downside for altcoins, guys, like, and again, weekly, I just talked about how we could expect more downside for Ethereum. Again, this doesn't mean that it's never going to pump again, right? So yeah, it's really just that waiting game. And listen, if and when we do get that big pop to the upside, it's gonna happen fast, and like it's gonna be very apparent, right? It might, and chances are it's probably gonna happen after something scary happens, right? So like people are thinking, oh, I told you, ETH is dead, right? Maybe we do something like this. Oh, Head and Shoulders, this thing's going to zero. And I mean, hey, maybe the Head and Shoulders does play out. But, at the end of the day, right, like, maybe we get a news event, maybe the rate cuts, whatever it is, right? Eventually, we're just kind of waiting for that bigger breakout, and it will happen very quickly, right? And then everyone's going to be looking back. They're going to wake up, and they're going to see everything popping to the upside. Again, not guaranteed, but if this happens, right, it's going to happen very quickly. People are going to wake up and be like, oh, my God, I missed the boat. Oh, my God, let me buy in, right? And then that's where you're going to see all the retail pop in. Oh, my God, bull market, all-time highs forever. We're never going back down. Buy the dip. But as we all know, retail comes in at the worst possible time, typically at the tops, right? So, yeah. So we took a look at Bitcoin, we took a look at Ethereum, we took a look at Solana. Let's take a quick look at Cardano. We didn't check this out yesterday, and the reason for that is just because this thing is nothing to update, right? We're just still tapping on top of this value area high. This value area high is still the biggest key level of support, just like Ethereum, right? If we can't hold this and we break back down in below this, we have the golden pocket POC zone sitting here between 72 and 68 cents. And then if we break down below that golden pocket POC, well, you're just at that point going to be expecting your value area low, which is going to be your last line in the sand to bounce off of before cracking this low down here at about 51 cents. If we get that, that's where you could start to anticipate much more downside for Cardano, right? Once you lose that 786, you're anticipating a break of structure to the downside here. And the problem there is if you're expecting that break of structure to the downside, at that point, you could get stuck under your value area high for a much bigger drop down. But you can see here how far away we are from this level, right? So what I would tell you from a technical perspective, this is your full golden pocket 786 pulled from the low to the high here of this entire move up ever since June. People are going to think everything is over once you get this pull. Like people are like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But we're coming down to support right now. It's not that there's no level where I start to think like, oh my God, this is a little bit suspicious, right? But it's all the way down here, right? It's not until we lose this level where I'm thinking like, okay, hey, now we can see, Cardano potentially break below 50 cents. But it's, we're still, if we measure it from where we are right now, we're still 29, 30% from there. I'm not saying you can't get that drop, but like there's no reason to panic off of this, pullback of, we're down 15% after a massive 100% rip to the upside. So you don't understand how to read the charts and you're just looking at like a 3-minute time frame every day, right? You're looking at this and you're like, oh my God, this thing does nothing but just dump. Oh my God, right? But you got to get off those lower time frames and take a higher time frame perspective, unless you're trading the lower time frames, of course. But, from a structure perspective here, I would say you still have some good support down here. Maybe we just have to come down if we get those bigger drops down. You could potentially just range around, right? And then eventually break above your value area low and get the bigger moves to the upside. But this chop could be absolutely brutal. And then, there's always the case of like maybe this time is different and there's just absolutely no alt season and everything goes to zero. But there's just nothing on the chart that would make me say that there are technical factors and technical reasons to actually look for that to be the case. Shout out to New Earth Guardian, said you could even flip a coin and take trades with 50% accuracy, but you have good risk management, profit taking, and exit strategy. You can still be a profitable trader. Shout out to New Earth Crypto. New Earth Crypto. Why did I say that? New Earth Guardian. Yeah. Shout out to I saw More Timer Duke said that he was just watching the risk management video. I dropped a risk management video in the premium Discord, letting people know like an exact risk management strategy that I oftentimes use, which I always tell people, like, when you're a new trader, you want to risk like 1 to 2% of your account. And the reason for this is because if you risk 1 to 2% of your account, you have to lose so many trades in a row to blow up your account, right? Most people, they see leverage and they look at it in the completely wrong way, right? They just look at it as a way to increase their capital and not manage their risk, right? So they'll put their $1,000 on 100x leverage to take a huge position size, right? But they're not managing the risk, right? And they're risking 50%, if not 100% of their account on each trade, and they're blowing up their account. They're blowing up their account. They're blowing blowing up their account. Even if you risk 20% on each trade, right? You take a few trades and you're going to blow up your account very fast. But when you risk 1 to 2%, right, you can take so many trades, right, before you wind up wrecking your account. And the beauty of that is it removes a lot of the emotion from your trading, because if you look at your, you would have to, if you take 200 losing trades while risking 1% on each position, you could take 200 losses and still have a little bit of money left in your account. The chances of you taking 200 losses in a row, I would argue, are pretty much zero. If you're even losing 50 trades in a row, right, your problem's not the risk management. But at the end of the day, right, you could take 50. I think it's like on if you're risking 1% on a $1,000 account, and you lose 50 trades in a row, I think you still have $600 in your account. This is what keeps you in the game. And that way, when you're in a position, if you're taking a position with 1% risk and you know you can get stopped out 100 times and still have money in your account, it takes a little bit of the emotion out of that trade, because you're not sitting there like, oh my God, I can't lose this trade, right? And this is what's like, oh my God, I can't lose this trade. If I lose this trade, right? You're not going to feel like that, because well, if I lose this trade, I could take 199 other trades, right? For the most part, right? Or even more. And it takes a lot of the emotion out of the trade, because, even the best traders in the world will take, 5 losses in a row, 10 losses in a row, and people will be like, oh, that's a bad trader. People always ask me, like, how many out of the last 10 trades, like my friends or something will be like, how many out of the last 10 trades have you won? And I'm like, listen, like, win rate is not as important as your risk management strategy. That's just the fact of the matter, right? You could lose 10 trades in a row, but if you're using good risk management, as long as you have an okay win rate, it doesn't have to be as high as people think. People think they need an 80% win rate or 90% win rate. You only need that if you're risking a ton of your account. But if you're only risking a small portion of your account, 1 to 2%, right, you can have a pretty horrible win rate, and that risk management is always going to keep you profitable over time. This is the secret to trading, guys. There is no shortcut. There is no secret strategy. Most people will say, I took 5 losses in a row, I got to find a new strategy. This is the wrong way to look at trading. And risk management is absolutely the absolute key, right? It's like the biggest, if there is a secret in trading, it's risk management. That's what keeps you in the game. So it's super, super important, especially if you want to consistently make money. Can you just throw some money on some leverage, risk $500 out of your $1,000 account? Maybe you'll hit it big, maybe not, probably not, right? And then you have 2 trades, right? If you're risking 50% of your account, you could take 2 trades before you blow up your account. Wouldn't it be better, right? Instead of trying to chase and gamble for a overnight hit to get rich overnight, which, by the way, is a fake dream. I cannot sell you a fake dream, right? You can get rich trading, but it's not going to happen if you're gambling on high leverage with risking half your account. But if you actually want to make money consistently and hopefully one day replace your job with trading, the risk management is what is going to keep you in that game, right? There's tons of strategies out there that have a high enough win rate to make you money as long as you're managing the risk correctly. Risk management over strategy and win rate 1,000% of the time. 1,000% of the time. So there you go. Shout out to Yarbroke. I don't know if or maybe Yarbrock. I don't know how to say your name. But it says, fact, I have a high win rate, but my P&L barely grows because my position size and hanging on to losers too long. Yeah, shout out to you, brother. You could have a super low position size, and risk management is always going to trump win rate. You could have a horrible win rate, and if you manage the risk correctly, you can still manage to make money over time. And that's what you want, right? You're not, again, like, you're not here to hit one trade and change your life overnight, right? You can try that, right? But you might as well just go to the casino. If you want to learn a predictable skill that is consistently winning over time, you're going to have to manage that risk. So yeah, if everybody could just like throw $500 on 100x leverage and get rich overnight without risking a ton of money and, almost guaranteeing that they're going to lose everything, it would just be super easy, right? But it's not. But it's definitely possible, right? But risk management is going to be the key. People always ask me, what was your click? What was that moment that made you click and that made trading click for you, right? And everyone's thought is like he's going to tell me a strategy or an entry trigger or an indicator that once he started using that, he started winning more. Obviously, you want to win as much as possible. It sounds counterintuitive that you don't want to care about your win rate. Win rate is somewhat important, but it's like almost completely irrelevant compared to your risk management. When you compare them side by side, risk management is 1,000 times more important. But everyone's like, well, how do I win more trades, right? Like, that's probably not your issue. Maybe it is. If you're losing 200 trades in a row, you're probably using a bad strategy. But there's honestly, even trading patterns alone will probably give you a good enough win rate with good risk management to be profitable consistently over time. But most people are just like waiting for me to say, like, once I started looking at this indicator or this strategy or I got this signal, or it's not that. That's never going to be, like, the people are chasing the wrong thing. It's the risk management, right? So people tell me, how do I win more of my trades? I'm my instant thought is, you losing your trades is probably not the issue, right? You would have to be losing hundreds of trades in a row for that to be the actual issue. The issue is probably, even if you're losing 3 out of 5 trades, you're probably just losing 3 trades with way too much risk, and then those winners don't make up for your losses. But if you take 3 losses with tiny losses, if you take 3 losing trades with tiny losses, and then your next 2 trades win with much bigger profit, right? Because you controlled your losses on the losing trades, you're probably going to make money over time. So if you're thinking to yourself, like, I need to win more trades, that's probably not your issue. Your issue is probably you have no risk management strategy, right? You probably don't even know how much you should be risking or how to manage those positions. That's the most important part. And I just dropped a fire tutorial in the premium Discord explaining everything with a simple calculation on how to adjust your where to set your stop loss and all that good stuff. So, yeah, shout out to Kryptone, says, my trading definitely changed once I learned how to lose. Yes, absolutely. Losing is part of the game. It's a business expense, right? You can't expect to win every trade. That's what people jump into this, and they think that profitable traders just win all their trades, right? It's not the case. Not even for the best traders in the world. They lose trades too. Their key is, like, real traders know how to manage risk. Frankie, what would you do with your trade? Let it ride with stop loss to break even, TP, or close it? I struggle a little bit with my positions. I catch good positions, but I lose profits, which is annoying. Yeah, shout out to C7. So it sounds like you're probably not, you don't have a profit-taking strategy, right? And I always explain this with volume profiles, right? A very simple profit-taking strategy for a volume profile, just use this rotation for example, right? You get in at the value area low, maybe on some bullish divergences, which is oftentimes a very simple entry trigger, right? And I'm not saying you would take this on a 5-day bull div, but just for example, right? Let's just say you see this bullish divergence. You want to take a long position down here. You go ahead and enter that, right? Your target, your final target for that trade, right, could be, now don't put your stop loss down here, which, by the way, guys, your stop loss should be based off the chart, right? Not based off of, like, how big this number is, right? You should base your stop loss based off the invalidation of your trade, and then you use this information to calculate your position size and your risk. So let's say you take a long position here. I mean, simple, right? If you're expecting to hold the value area low with the next target of the POC, there's your take profit 1. You have to, right? You could take this position 5 times in a row and it could win 5 times in a row. But if you're not taking your profits, right, and moving your stop loss to break even, well, let's say you come up to the POC, that would be take profit 1. Now your stop loss is at break even. And now you can say, well, hey, I have money locked in, stop loss at break even. You are now in a guaranteed winning trade. If it continues up, you can look to push into the value area high. Absolutely beautiful, right? Now that's TP2. At that point, you could take your second take profit or close the trade in full. It's up to you. But if you expect, a bigger continuation to the upside, you could take 2 take profits, keep your stop loss at break even, or move your stop loss into profit. And if it decides to run, well, hey, now you're long from the low, and you can let that trade run into a bigger swing trade. So you need to have some kind of a profit-taking strategy, right? That's part of risk management as well, right? It's not only controlling your losers, but if you never take profit, you're never going to make money. And this is, the emotion you're battling there, C7, if you're having trouble taking profits, is greed. You're seeing maybe $50 profit here, and you're like, well, if I take 50% out here, if I take $25 off the table, I'm going to make less on this move up. What are you doing right there? You're chasing money. This is not the goal of trading, right? Notice it sounds counterintuitive or contradictive. Obviously, the point of trading is to make money, but it's really to stay in the game. Right? So, you might be saying to yourself, like, oh, I'm going to have a smaller position size. It's not going to make me as much money on the way up. Or maybe you start to feel like, oh, I was right. It's going to continue up. This is going to be the trade that changes my life. This is going to be the change that changes my life. That is not how it's going to work, right? Especially with leverage trading, right? You want to have consistent wins, even if they're small over time, right? And if you can consistently win, you can always chase more capital to get bigger position sizes, right? So I would say you have to set some kind of a profit-taking strategy, or, for example, right, let's say you ride it up and you're like, all right, I was right. I should be taking profit here, but I don't care. I'm going to go for the home run, right? Well, what happens if you get the rejection at the POC and you're not moving your stop loss or taking profit, right? Well, this was a beautiful trade. Even if you take partial profit and get stopped out at break even, that was still a good trade because you won and you made money. But if you don't take profit here and you don't move your stop loss, what's going to happen? You're going to get stopped out for a loss. Now your P&L takes a dip. Well, now let's say you take a short position. All right, I'm going to short the value area high, have bearish divergences. Even if you take the entry up there, but just for simplicity, I'll say you take it here. Your final target could be the value area low, right? And then once you get to this POC, you should be locking in profit, right? But what if you get down here and you're like, well, hey, I don't want to take profit. I want to keep this position open because I want to make the life-changing trade. Well, you front run the value area low, and then you stop out for a loss. Well, now you've taken a loss here and a loss here. When this could have been a TP1, well, this would have played out in full, but let's assume you were rejected there just for argument's sake, right? You could have taken a partial win here, and that would have been a P&L tick to the upside. And you could have taken a partial win here for a partial tick to the upside. But instead, you got greedy, right? I'm not C7. I'm not saying you do this. I'm just saying in general. But if you get greedy, right, you had 2 good trades that you could have won. The setups were good. The TA was right. But you still lost the trades. It was because of your actual psychology and the management of your positions that made you lose those trades. It wasn't the setup or the TA. This is why I always say, this is why signals groups don't work, right? Because I could give, in my Discord, I give the spoon-fed trade setups, but I also teach the risk management. I also teach the entry triggers, all this stuff. I teach you how to be a sustainable trader so you can actually do this consistently and hopefully do it for a living one day, right? And change your life, because it absolutely can change your life, but you're not going to change your life by gambling and hoping for that. Don't go for the home runs. This is not how trading works, right? You let the home runs hit you by surprise. Maybe if this winds up running into, what are we on, Cardano? Cardano rips up to $2 from here, right? You're not saying once I long here, I'm hoping this hits $2. You're hitting this, right? And you're taking profit. You're taking profit. Now you're in a guaranteed winning trade with your stop loss in profit or at break even with money locked in. And if it runs to $2, that home run or grand slam hits you by surprise. You have to go for singles and doubles. You have to be able to consistently extract money from the market, and you're not going to be able to do that if you're just chasing that giant trade. It is like, what do they call it? I don't remember what it's called. But it's like, trading or like, even gambling, right? I would never say, you can definitely gamble when you're trading, right? But if you're managing your risk correctly, that's what separates trading from gambling. People are like, oh, you're a gambler because you trade. Not even close, right? Like, just tells me that you know nothing about trading at all, right? Trading can be gambling, but the management of the risk is what makes trading not gambling. You can't take you can't watch a slot machine spin, and when 2 of the things match up, you can't close the position, right, or take the money out of the slot machine before it loses, right? That's the difference between trading and gambling. You can actually manage the risk. That's why I say, like, poker, you can actually, like, fold. You can manage your capital, right? So that's, like, still, I guess, gambling technically, but you can manage you can actually profitably play poker if you're a good player, right? And you can manage your stack well. But that's what makes you a consistently profitable trader, right? Even when they don't play out in full, you should still be making money on that trade if you're taking profit, right? For example, right, like for my position that I'm in right now, right, I'm up $1,100 right now, right? Well, I'm not going to make anything if I just let this stop out. And I know we kind of jokingly, I let you guys pick 55% of you say let it ride, so I'm going to let it ride. But, this is for content, right? But like at the end of the day, right, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, my trade didn't play out if I get stopped out at break even, right? Because I have plenty of money to either close this in full and make $1,000 or even take 50%, make $500. And then if it runs, I'll make more money. If it stops me out, I make $500, right? But it has nothing to do with the setup. The setup was fire. Entered here, pretty much up and to the right from there. Right, so the setup is fire, but just because the setup's fire and the trade plays out does not mean you're going to make money. So this is why in my Discord I say, signals, I can give 100% accurate setups and signals 100% of the time, which is not the case. But even if I could do that, that doesn't really have anything to do with people making money, right? Because I can't hit the take profit button for you. I can't move that stop loss for you. I've built that discipline over time, right? I started horribly, right? I never managed my risk. I never set my stop loss. I would get liquidated. And guess what? I never made money. It wasn't until I understood risk management where I actually started making money. Right, and this is kind of like I'm doing this kind of like not as a joke, but just as like for fun. I'm letting this ride, but like on a general trade here, it's like I'm already TP1 stop loss to break even, guaranteed winning trade at this point. I could wake up tomorrow, it's stopped out. I'm like, okay, cool, I made money in my sleep, whatever. But it's no one can give you that discipline, and until you learn that, right? It's like it's a binary thing. If you do not learn the risk management, if you're not disciplined, if you don't have your emotions under control, you're not going to make money, and no one can change that but you. There's no strategy that can make that for you. There's no indicator that can help you. Maybe it can help you learn how to take profit, but like there's no indicator or strategy that's just going to make you make money because you have to pay yourself. You have to manage your risk. That is the secret to trading. So there you go. A little bit of sauce for the mafia. Shout out to Michael Salomon says, I think that's how you say that. Says, what exchange are you trading on? This is Femex. So this trade is open on Femex. I trade mostly on Femex and Blowfin. Actually, let me pull my face cam here real quick. I do believe, I just don't want to leak any secret information here in the premium Discord. Super secret. But let me see here. I do believe we have a, do we have a Blowfin promotion? Yeah, so we do have a Blowfin promotion here. If you guys want to sign up for Blowfin, if you use our affiliate link, we are running, when does this end? August 31st. Yeah, so you got a few more days here. So we have a trade and deposit bonus or trading and deposit to win bonus, trading volume. equals 100 million. So if you trade 100 million in volume, you get 9,400 in bonus funds or cash back. So you can come check this out. It's in the free Discord in the announcement section. You could use the link in the description down below if you guys want to try that. But yeah, we do have this. I forgot to mention this yesterday, but we do have this nice little promotion going on. But that trade is on Femex. That's my main exchanges that I trade on. So there you go. Shout out to Priochi. Thank you for the super chat. Says, with the red dot on the 4-hour, possible short Solana POC. Let's take a look here. So what do I see here, right? I'll just kind of walk you through this. So money flow actually is popping up a bit here, but what do you have, right? Bearish divergence on your 4-hour. Oh, red dot is confirmed, right? So you have your confirmed 4-hour bearish divergence. That VWAP does look like it wants to tick up a bit. So you got to be careful you don't print that green dot again, but you do have a confirmed bearish divergence here on the 4-hour currently. Let's check some of the lower time frames. You also have your slight bearish divergence here on the 15-minute money flow. Yeah, it's like if this money flow was coming out as the 4-hour red dot was printing, I'd feel a little better about this because the 4-hour red dot is fresh. This is confirmed, and if that there is an ability that green dot can print pretty quickly. So, I mean, you have the 15-minute bear div drop. Are you retracing into a Fibonacci retracement? Let's see here. So I would say, yeah, once you hold above this 786. At that point, right, like your hope here would be like, well, hey, I have the bearish divergence on the 15-minute. I have the bearish divergence confirmed on the 4-hour, right? I would really like to see that money flow come out. Locally, it is coming up. I wouldn't say it's the perfect setup, but I would say, right, if you didn't catch a short position here on the bearish divergence, right, and you missed this move to the downside, again, as always, you never want to chase that move down. You want to wait for a retracement. I mean, I would say you're pushing into that 786. Once you hold above that 786, though, it's probably, I mean, your hope here, if you're going to see that 4-hour bear div give you the pushback, the pullback, you know, you're looking at this to be the lower high, right? So you have the 15-minute bear div drop, lower high, right? Maybe you're going to change structure here a little bit. And the thought process here, this is not a trade signal. This is not a setup. I'm not telling you to take this trade. I'm just saying, you know, if I were to take this trade, I would say, hey, you know, I would be looking for a high, a low, a lower high, and then, you know, hopefully a lower low, right? So targeting to crack this low for about 3.4%, right? And then stop loss for me personally, again, I'm not telling you to take this trade at all. I'm not taking this trade. But, you know, once you break above that 786, it's like you're kind of invalidating the idea of your high, low, lower high, lower low. So once you hold above here, it's like you probably want to stop out of that position. And as I just brought up, right, like this is shouldn't be a big deal, right? If you wanted to take that trade, as long as you're only risking 1% of your account, right, you could take a tons of losses like that without blowing up your account. All right, so you shouldn't be looking at this like, oh my God, it's about to stop out. Oh, should I close it? Should I hold? You should just be like, well, if I take this, I'm gonna lose 1%. Like you have to accept the fact that you're taking a risk. There's gonna be a risk. There's gonna be some type of risk on any kind of trade, right? So, yeah, I mean, you do have the 4-hour bear div. I wouldn't say it's like a perfect setup. What I would like to see here is money flow coming out on the 15-minute with a 4-hour bear div printing. The 4-hour bear div is confirmed here, but it doesn't mean that you can't pull back. I mean, you could even look at something like the 8-hour bearish divergence, also looking to print higher highs, lower highs, money flow coming out, red dot looking to print. So you can look at the 30-minute money flow starting to trend out here. So for a continuation down, I would probably keep an eye on the 30-minute money flow coming out with your 8-hour red dot printing. That's your market cipher B116 strategy. But again, I would say, you know, it doesn't really matter where you set your stop loss here. I would say the invalidation is somewhere above that 786, so maybe above this wick. You could set it up here, right? But you're going to have to lower your position size to account for that extra risk, right? Or that extra stop loss percentage. But yeah, I mean, your hope is to not break above this level at that point. Not saying to take the trade. I'm just saying, you know, that's how I would handle looking at that. Let's see here. I mean, 16-hour VWAP and bearish divergence looking to print as well. I would just be careful because this 4-hour VWAP is like just cranking back to the upside. So, you know, if that's not going to play out, it's probably going to play out like this, right? Instant VWAP flip. Red dot with an instant green dot. That red dot's pretty much invalidated, and then you just continue pushing up. But again, if you're managing your risk, right, you could afford to take a loss like that. You could afford to take 50 losses like that. Not that you would want to take 50 losses, but so yeah, that's kind of what I would look at. I would be a little suspicious. Not the perfect setup, but you definitely have the bearish divergence there. Let me actually pull this locally as well. So when you look at this local volume profile as well, right, another way you can view this, it's going to be Could use this as kind of your local guide. Right? There's your high, your POC, your value area low. 786. Confluent with the value area high. Right? So at that point, what you would look at here is if you get stuck under this value area high, well, hey, next likely place for price to go is probably going to be the POC at 212.06. Maybe you get a little bounce there. Eventually, you can look for the full fill down to the value area low or potentially even more, right? But that's just kind of how you can view and anticipate price to move, right? If you are going to get the drop down, you're not going to break above that 786 for a push up. Well, if you get stuck in here, you're probably going to follow through with this local volume profile. And then if it breaks down more, well, at that point, let's just say you took a position here at the 786, stop loss, above wherever, this high or this high, right? Your final target or your first target can kind of be POC value area low for a 2% move, right? Maybe you get that to play out. And then if you start losing this range and it turns into a bigger move, well, hey, you could have TP1, TP2, and let the rest ride down for a bigger swing trade. Just a kind of top-down view of how you can view this stuff. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you out. Let's see. Alts are going to rip one last time before a big dump. Shout out to Dar. I hope so. Somebody send these altcoins to the moon, baby. Shout out to New Earth Guardian, said it was wild today when stocks were pumping and BTC was just going down. Such a divergence from the market sell pressure. Yeah, shout out to New Earth. Pretty interesting to see that. Not yet, bro. Waiting for bull market end to afford the diamond ring I have my eye on. Don't want to sell my portfolio percentage over a ring. You married again or just donating pleasure to beauties? Shout out to JoJo. I don't know if you're asking me if I donate pleasure to Mrs. Candles, but I'll just say this. I am a very charitable man. I give tons of money away on this YouTube channel. I give away more than just money, but I'll tell you that much. But anyway, let's see. Shout out to Panda says, Frankie just blasted all of us with the sauce. Yeah, there you go, guys. If you pay attention, most people charge for this information, right? Gen Z says, where'd that go? It disappeared, guys. It disappeared. Shout out to Perry, said, thank you for ding dong in my head. I did not manage my account risk. That's why I'm losing. Shout out to Perry, bro. That self-awareness is going to get you much farther than you probably think it will. It all starts with, and that's why I always say, even signals groups, right? Someone could have a signals group and they can give you the best setup, and then someone loses money and they'll be like, what the heck? I lost money. And it's if the trade played out, there's no reason you shouldn't make money, but you can't force people to hit the sell button, right? Or move their stop loss. Shout out to Lee, says his calves are enough. Oh, God. Crypto Independent said no more Frankie Candles. It's Frankie Hammers. Anyway, guys. All right, back to it. That's why we love you, Frankie. Shout out to Chris. Let's go, baby. I love you back. She gets the Fibonacci treatment. Good Lord. What did I do? Is Mrs. Candles here? Mrs. Candles! Mrs. Candles! I don't know if she's here. Can we check out ENA price action? Yeah, we could try to take a look at ENA. Last time someone asked me to look at ENA, we looked at ENS. And I did full analysis on the wrong coin. So let's see here. Well, had your little bounce off your golden pocket. Dig a little deeper into that Fibonacci zone. Still have your 786 sitting down here at 58 cents. So this is still your local support, right? I would say, if you lose this 786, I'd be looking down to this bigger zone here, which is your bigger golden pocket value area high, right? Pulled from the low to the high. Golden pocket, value area high. If you cannot hold your local golden pocket 786 for a local bounce, you lose that 786, I'd be anticipating a move down here towards about 46 to 43 cents. Break down below this. Once you lose that value area high, guys, somebody let me know where that next place for price to go is. Exactly. Shout out to Jay Violet. Mrs. Candle's hand. The POC 786, right? Lose the golden pocket, you look to the 786. Lose the value area high, you look to the POC. Those levels are confluent. So I would say lose 58 cents. If you can't get the bounce here and break back into your volume profile, lose this. I'm looking right here. If you can't get the bounce from there and you lose this value area high, I'm looking at that POC. Now, if you lose this 786, to be quite honest, I would expect the value area low to hold. But if money flow is coming out at that point, I would honestly be looking for a push down, not only to the value area low, but a potential break of this low here, because that's where that fib is pulled from. You have your, let me just pull this up, right? So you have your low, your higher low, higher high, because the thought process here for bouncing off these levels will be higher low, higher high, or higher low, higher high. Once you break that 786, it invalidates that idea of the higher low, and I would at least look for the value area low, but potentially you could open the door to crack structure to the downside here. But again, you're pretty far away. It's very similar to what we looked at on Cardano, right? Like they're lining the sands down here, but you're very far away from that level. So you don't have to worry about that until it comes time. So there you go. That's what I'd be looking at on ENA. Overall, 16-hour money flow in the red. Still got to be careful of the lower highs and lower lows, guys. Especially on Bitcoin, right? There we go. Like a nice little... Yeah, I mean, got a little pop to the upside off the golden pocket. Not too shabby. Trade probably sitting in the same profit. Yeah, about 1,050. So, yeah, that's what I would look at on ENA. Hopefully I didn't say ENS this whole time. But overall, 16-hour money flow in the red, right? Like, got to be careful of lower highs and lower lows, right? Doesn't mean it's going to zero, right? You have those next key levels down below. So that's what I would look at on ENA. Almost said ENS. Yo, shout out to Jay Gilly. Said, hey, Jojo. My niece and nephews call me Uncle Jojo. Yeah, shout out to Jay Gilly. That's a nice one. My nephew, well, my niece can't say anything yet, but my nephew says, I won't, not that it's super secret, but, he doesn't say Aunt Mrs. Candles, but he says Aunt Mrs. Candles' name. And then for me, he just says, look, Uncle Frankie. He goes, Aunt Mrs. Candles. He just says Mrs. Candles' name. He doesn't say my name. Shout out to Pose. Said, hello there. Hope you guys missed me. How is the Mafia family? Shout out to Pose. Welcome in, bro. We did miss you, bro. We did miss you. Welcome back. Link wants to pop those $28 cherries. All right, let's take a look at Link. Yeah, I mean, we push into that POC. Just remember, guys, POC is resistance. I would say here, I mean, the next, there's those $28 cherries there. But, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, right, get above that POC. I would look at the next bigger target for the breakage structure to the upside here at about 31.48 at the value area high. Get above the low, flip it to support. POC is next. POC can give you turbulence, though, so just be aware. You are at resistance, but once you flip that POC, you can look up towards that value area high. Now, when we look at money flow here, let's take a look at the 4-hour. Let's take a look at the 2-hour. 2-hour VWAP kind of chopped up there. 8-hour green dot confirm. I mean, the 8-hour money flow, guys, we can't unsee this, right? It's like, yeah, I mean, you have a divergence money flow here as well. Money flow divergence, I should say. Higher highs on your price action, lower highs on your money flow, as well as, yeah, you don't really have the divergence on your momentum waves. But, yeah, I would be careful. This is locally trending out. VWAP looking to roll over. 4-hour rolling over. Your 1-hour. Yeah, it's kind of hard. Market cipher is a little bit chopped up here. So I would just kind of pay more attention to the key levels. It's not until you break above that POC where I'd be looking up towards the value area high. POC is resistance. So with that money flow coming out, I would not be surprised if you start getting lower highs and lower lows. I'll take this Fibonacci off the chart because this was a whole zone. But flip the low. POC is next. You have to expect turbulence. Maybe this was the extent of the turbulence, but I would say you got to be careful of lower highs and lower lows here until that money flow shapes up. Right? So I would say like your biggest resistance level locally here would be POC down to the golden pocket between 27.13 and 25.81. 25.88 could put lower high, lower low, right? It's not until you break really above the 786 and the POC where I'd be looking up for the bigger move to the value area high. So yeah, and it all looks the same, right? It's like kind of like the market cipher B on a lot of the altcoins all remains the same, right? And let's be honest, right? If Bitcoin pulls back, right? If Bitcoin does get that bigger drop to the downside to take out our lows again, right? What are altcoins going to do? The altcoins are going to follow. So yeah, I'll be honest, guys. If we hold this golden pocket for the third time in a row, low, high, higher, low, higher, high into our major level of resistance, that's crazy, right? Because we already did this here, right? This will be like the most clean Fibonacci retracements like I've seen in a long time. And then here. Low, high, higher, low on the golden pocket. Low, high, higher, low on the golden pocket. Low, high, higher, low on the golden pocket. I mean, that'd be crazy. That'd be like such clean price action. Just that'd be wild. I mean, hey, I hope so. I am holding the long position. 80-minute green dot looking to print. If we could get this, right? How much longer do we have on this daily candle? We got an hour left on this, 53 minutes left on this daily candle. If we can get that 80 and 90-minute money float across back into the green, it would look a little better for that push to the upside. But yeah, for now, I'm just going to hold that long position and see if we can push up here. And if we get the big move down, you guys kind of know those big key levels of support I'm looking at on Bitcoin to the downside. Shout out to Limitless, said Femex is legit. It should be more of a thing. Shout out to Limitless. Yeah, I like Femex. I've been trading on Femex for a very long time. I've been trading on Femex before I had my channel. I've probably traded on Femex the longest out of any exchange. But yeah, I don't have a problem with Femex or Blowfin. I like both of them. But yeah, it's one of my favorites, JoJo. Shout out to JoJo says boats. Yo, Step Brothers, what a classic movie. Shout out to JoJo. Yes, what a good Lord. It's crazy to think that's a classic now. All Will Ferrell movies are great. He is an idiot. Anchorman is an all-time favorite as well. Shout out to JoJo. Yeah. Crypto Owl says Femex is awesome. Yeah. It's yeah, to be quite honest with you guys, a lot of people get really picky about their exchanges, and it's not that I'm not picky with my exchanges, but like I really have never had a huge. I guess I've lucked out, right? Like I've avoided any like major like exchange problems, like some exchange, like like FTX stuff like that. Like I've avoided everything like that for some reason. I've been very lucky with exchanges, and I always say this, right, from any exchange you use. It doesn't matter if you're using Coinbase. It doesn't matter if you're using Gemini. It doesn't matter if you're using Femex, Blowfit, whatever it is, right? You want to understand, right, that like you never want to put all your eggs in one basket, right? And obviously, depending on how much capital you have, even in a bank account, right? FDIC insurance is only up to $250K, right? So you wouldn't want, if you had $2 million, you probably don't want to hold all that $2 million in that one account, right? Because only $250,000 is going to be insured. And when an exchange isn't FDIC insured, right? Like any exchange is at risk of a hack, right? Any exchange. Hopefully exchanges that you're using have good security, but it's I've never really had any I've never been on an exchange, even when I've used exchanges that have been hacked. I think BingX got hacked a while ago. When I used to use BingX, and I just wasn't affected by it. So I've kind of skirted that, but you always have to be careful where you put your money. You never want to put all your eggs in one basket. You kind of got to manage your risk, not only on your trades, but also with where you hold your capital. And this is one of the other reasons why I love leverage, is because to open up a big position size, right, you don't necessarily have to have, $100,000 in your account. Right, because you could use the leverage to up your position size. So you don't have to, I don't have to hold $100,000 on an exchange to take large position sizes. I can hold a smaller amount of capital and use the leverage and borrow their money, which helps me manage that risk, right? So yeah. Let's see. Same for Celsius. Yeah, I avoided Celsius as well somehow. AVAX is flying. Let's take a quick look at AVAX. All right. Well, I wouldn't say flying. Locally. If you're on the 1 minute time frame, definitely flying here. But you pull that up on a 10-hour, it's like nothing really too crazy. Not that it can't continue. But I always wonder when someone says like, "Oh my God, this thing is flying." I'm always like, I'm expecting to like pull up the daily chart and like see something, see something like this, right? But it just goes to show the situation we are in this market, right? It's like even these little moves up feel really nice, which is hopefully not going to be the case forever. Hopefully, we'll see. Oh, I remember when this move felt big, when we're looking at the real gains to the upside. So let me see here. I'll pull up the AVAX chart for you guys. Do I have an AVAX chart here? All right. Let me pull it up on the alt. Yeah, so from a medium time frame situation here, didn't come down to hit the golden pocket, at least the full golden pocket. You did come and hit this local golden pocket, pulled from the lowest point after right before the impulse up. And even if you pull this to the impulse, golden pocket, POC. So I would say this full golden pocket is still sitting down here. So POC, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you just look at this from a I'll just take a look at this from a volume profile perspective. Yeah, like I don't remember exactly when we looked at this last, but we have this high volume node here. We have a value area low, POC, and then you have 2 high volume nodes before you get to the value area high. And the reason this is interesting is because, you know, your POC is typically or is always going to be the area where the most volume was transacted within the range. But you kind of have multiple POCs here. One POC here, this is the actual POC. Then this one, right, you have high volume node, high volume node, high volume node. Technically, this is the highest volume node, but it's kind of similar to these other high volume nodes. So I would kind of look at these as just like 3 separate POCs, right? From the value area low, hold it, POC is next, flip the POC, the next likely place for price to go is going to be that next big high volume node. We got rejected, back up, we're just knocking on this door. If we break above this high volume node sitting at 2611, I would say the next big move up, or the next big target to look at for a move up would be the high volume node here at 3593. Flip that to support, push into the value area high at 4064. So next big target I would look at is 3593. And, you know, again, when you have these gaps in volume, pretty much price will move very quickly through these, right? So I would say you're, you know, from the high volume node to the high volume node, right? I usually pull it to like the significant shelf of volume, which I would say is probably like right here. So when you break into these low volume gaps, here's your high volume, low volume, high volume, low volume. Price sticks to the high volume nodes, as you can see. Sticks to the high volume nodes, as you can see. Sticks to the high volume nodes. Sticks to the high volume nodes. But when you go into the low volume nodes or the low volume gaps, price tends to move very fast. 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 So what can we say? If we get above that high volume node and push into this low volume gap, maybe we could see a fast move. Fast move down equals fast move up. Fast move up equals fast move down. Fast move down equals fast move up. So why would we not expect the same thing here? This is how these low volume gaps work. So I would say get above this high volume node and crack into this low volume gap. You might be able to get that fast move up through this volume gap ending at about 3381, but you also could get sucked up towards that major high volume node at 3593. That's what I would look at. Yo, shout out to Jay Gilly. Thank you for the super chat. Says, hey, Frankie, no requests, just hey. Shout out to Jay Gilly, or Uncle JoJo, as some people like to call him. Shout out to Jay Gilly. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate that so much. Hey, what's up, bro? What do HR people do? Shout out to Jay Gilly. Man, I've always had problem with the HR at my jobs back in the day. They're always telling me, Frankie, I get it, man. I see the calves, but you can't just go up to your coworkers and smack your calves in front of them. That's inappropriate. Never understood it. I was like, you know how hard I work on these calves? Stacy from HR? Unbelievable. They just don't want me to live my life. Let's see. Hey, Frankie, can we see BTC all-time high around early December like 2017? Asset is large now. Takes more time to move. Timeline move ahead about a month and a half. Shout out to Hitesh. I don't think that this is a I don't think this is super, like, you know, again, it's like when we start talking about things changing, saying this time is different, I typically press back against that. But again, you know, as I would say, you know, what I would say here is, you know, it's not that off, you know, I wouldn't say it's that unlikely, right? And it's going to be very hard to call this ahead of time, but yeah, I mean, listen, we made the all-time high before the halving, right? So like, is this going to shift things a little bit and potentially have a later peak in the cycle or peak later in the cycle? I think this is definitely somewhat possible, right? It's not what I would necessarily expect as a base case, but at the end of the day, right? Like, I mean, what was this? This all-time high came in here, and what are we on the weekly chart? So this was 42 days, right? So let's see, 42 days, you know, just roughing this out. December wouldn't be super, super impossible. Oh, wait, hang on. Did I measure that wrong? Hang on. From where we are. Yeah, I mean, probably would have to be from, like, here. Yeah, I mean, I think Q4 is the time to pay attention. Maybe, like, early 2026. But, again, it's like, it's never my base case to see things play out, but I would say there is an argument to be had there, right? It's like, maybe you do have to shift it over a little bit because you made the new all-time high, but there's also nothing saying that you have to do that either. But I do think as the asset matures, it moves a little bit slower. So there is an argument to be had. So I couldn't totally disagree with that. But we're just going to have to really wait and see what happens. Like I said, like all the macro signals, guys, all the macro indicators, Crow, right? We have Crow getting the huge rip to the upside here, which is, again, an early signal. When you start to see like exchange tokens, like even BNB making new all-time highs, like this is oftentimes early signals for that last phase of the bull market, alt season, parabolic top on Bitcoin to come in, right? But we need this to happen, right? Because we're getting pretty close to where we would expect the cycle to end based off the 4-year cycle. Right, these tops here, these measurements are like where the all-time highs have come in after the halving. I mean, we're getting pretty dang close. The longest it's taken was 525 days, right? So we're about a month away from that. So it's like if we're going to see something happen, it's kind of got to happen in the next, I would say, month or so, maybe a little longer. If you extend that, maybe the next month or two, right? So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I mean, I would still say all the macro indicators are pointing towards this potentially happening, which is why that's my base case until we start breaking down key support. Right now, if we pull up the, let's look at the bull market support band. Where is this sitting right now? So your bull market support band is sitting, $108,000, right? This is another, if we're going to break that low, right, our current low and tap into our $108,000 to $107,000 anchored VWAP, just keep in mind here, that big key level that we're looking at on Bitcoin, right? Now, we'll just pull this up real quick. Right? This big key level is also confluent with the bull market support band. So, when I say this is a big level, guys, I'm not just saying it for no reason, right? This is a huge, huge level of resistance, of support, right? So, have we lost the bull market support band before and then reclaimed? Yes, right? And we've even talked about... I've covered this in the past where it's like the 2-day money flow on Bitcoin with the bull market support band. Let me just pull it up over here. Actually, let me pull it up on this clean chart, weekly. Right, I've talked about how, part of the reason why we were still bullish on our big drop, pull up the 2-day is what I'm looking for, right? So, when we break below that bull market support band, obviously you break down in 2021, bearish retest, bear market comes in, you flip it to support, the bottom is in. Also, your weekly money flow is crossing into the green, indicating the bull market will continue. But every time we see the bull market support band lost in a bull market, the 2-day money flow crossover into the red is also happening. But this in a bull market is usually a buy the dip scenario, right? And then on a weekly time frame, right, what does this look like? It's just a few candle closes below it, right? But when you see this 2-day money flow crossover, right, this in a bull market is usually a buy the dip scenario, right? So money flow crossover into the red on the 2-day, buy the dip scenario, dip below the bull market support band, 2-day money flow in the red, buy the dip scenario, break below the bull market support band, 2-day money flow in the red, buy the dip scenario. The only reason I'm looking at this as the only reason I wasn't freaking out down here, oh my God, we're why? You might ask yourself, well, if it's such a key level here, why wasn't it such a key level here? And the reason is because of where we are in the cycle. Now that we're nearing where you would potentially expect to top on Bitcoin, right, or at least within a month or two, right, looking for that all-time high or that final top if the top is not already in, right, this is why this is so important, right, because we're running out of time. Down here, it was too early, right? There's a lot of reasons to not anticipate this being the start of the bear market, but we start closing daily and weekly candles below here at this late in the cycle, especially if we lose that 108K level and we start pushing down to 102K, 103K, right? And then we start retracing, right? And you can't get back above that anchor, that bull market support band. Well, that could be that retracement that we've been talking about. On that retracement, we want to look at money flow. What is money flow doing? Is it coming out on the weekly? If it is, right, well, this could be that retracement before we go into the bear market, very similar to what we saw in 2021. Right? It's okay, cool. Dip below your bull market support band, money flow in the red. I didn't have my channel back here, so I wasn't really announcing a call there. But, what happens eventually when you get to that point in the cycle where, enough time has come up for a top to develop in here, you break down below it, bearish retest, bearish retest, bearish retest, bearish retest. You can't break back out of it. You have multiple weekly candle closures below there and you can't break it back above, well, hey, that's a huge level to indicate that you're coming into the bear market, especially when it's combined with a weekly money flow crossover into the red, right? So this is something we can keep an eye on as well, and it just adds more confluence to that massive key level of support we have down here. So if we do something like this, right, maybe if we don't come in here and, like, you know, again, if we bounce off that 786, we want a fast reclaim, right? We could see a little slip of it there, but you don't want to close weekly candles below there. Now, if we lose 107 to 108K, right, and we get stuck inside this volume profile for the bigger drop to 97 to 92K, and we start retracing, and this bull market support band is coming up like this, and we're putting in lower highs into that bull market support band with money flow coming out on the higher time frames, such as the 4-day, 5-day, 6-day, and especially the weekly, well, that's where you're probably saying, hey, the top is probably already in. Right, so it all has to do with what this money flow is going to look like on that retracement. And, you know, the bull market support band gives you a little bit of confluence there. Right, because now you've broken down below it. I would say, like, the higher, longer we get into this cycle, the less likely it is to get a flip back above that to see a new all-time high. Now here, right, when we lost the bull market support band back here, right, actually, as a matter of fact, money flow was kind of looking a little bit suspicious there, to be quite honest, right? But again, timing-wise, we still had plenty of time to put in a new all-time high. And there were other things on the chart as well, such as daily bull divs, etc. But, you know, when I explain on the retracement is kind of where you're going to be looking to indicate whether the all-time high is in or not, it's hard to say, right? Nothing is broken here, right? There's no reason to say that the bear market is here, right? You could say, hey, this is the top. Maybe you'll wind up being right. But there's nothing technically that you could point to that says something about this like, oh, you SFP'd the all-time high. That means the high is in. That's not the case, right? We have SFP, the all-time high here. It does not mean the high is in. It could mean the top is in locally, but it doesn't mean there's no new all-time high incoming, right? Until you wind up really breaking down massive structure. So, you know, like we talked about yesterday, if you are going to get, right, this is why I don't really want to lose this level. It'd be much cleaner to get a bounce off this level, even if we have to come back and dig a little deeper, right? But once you start losing this, right, you hit the 786, get stuck into this volume profile, well, at this point, this is a big retracement and a big opportunity to flip that bull market support band to resistance. And if weekly money flow is coming in at that point, I'm going to have to say the same thing I said back here in 2021, which was what? Hey, guys, first weekly blood diamond ever on Bitcoin. Lost the bull market support band, bearish retest, bear flag, right? Not that I would trade that alone, but it is a bear flag. Money flow on the weekly, which is the huge signal coming out. This has indicated the bear market every single time. So it's not just the weekly money flow crossover. It's the break and retest of the bull market support band, the inability to hold it, the weekly blood diamond, the bear flag, and the bearish divergences that you're now looking at with confirmed, which is a beautiful signal to see the top come in. So doesn't mean every weekly bear div is going to be the top coming in, but when you combine all of this, right, it's not just, oh my God, weekly bear div, the top is in. You could look at that weekly bear div and say, I'm going to take a short. I think we're going to get a big move down. But it's not until you get that retracement and you're looking at that retracement saying, now money flows crossing into the red. Now we have bearish consolidation. Now we're losing the, I keep saying anchored VWAP. Now we're losing the bull market support band and we have a blood diamond. Boom. High time frame signals with the confirmations of the weekly bear div. There's nothing about this saying that this was the top, right? Because if you go off that, you would have had to call the top in on every other weekly bear div that we've seen here on this cycle. Higher highs, lower highs, you would have been calling that the top, right? And tons of people were. They were like, you're an idiot, man. You can't see this is the exact thing that happened in 2021. And I'm like, yes, I mean, it is. It's just not the same, though, right? It's not. They're not all created equal. Same thing here, right? If I hide the, if I hide this range real quick, right? I mean, you have your bear div to the wicks, right? Oh my God, that's the top. Like, okay, it could be a local top, right? It doesn't mean that just because it happened back here, it has to be the all-time high. And this is what we talked about. They're not all created equal, right? And then you get the move down, and we had our reasons why we did not think this was the bear market, and we were looking for a new all-time high, and we got it. Why? Because we understand the charts. So yeah, I mean, just to kind of show you guys how important this support is. We don't want to lose it. Right? Is there an opportunity to come down to 92K and then, you know, potentially break back above it and see new all-time highs? Yes, but it would be something very, very different than what we've seen before, so we can't really use that as our base case. And very likely, if we lose the bull market support band, hit 92K, say, or maybe even lower or higher, right, on that retracement, right, it's going to be like all eyes on that retracement. This will be the indicator of whether the top is in or not. We'll have a much better idea of whether the top is in when we get onto that retracement. Because if the weekly money flow is doing something like this, well, that's going to look eerily similar to what happened here in 2021. This is like the simplest indicator of the bear market, in my opinion. And it's happened every time. I show this. I mean, I've showed this umpteen times. Money flow crossover into the red on the weekly. You already had rejection off the bull market support band, rejection off the support band, rejection, 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 right? But that money flow crossover really indicates the big drop down. Same thing back here. Money flow comes out on the weekly, crosses into the red right here for the first time, right? You get down, you get back above, you try to hold it, you lose it again, but it's not until that retracement into the bull market support band with money flow coming out that indicates the rest of the drop is going to come in. And these were all brutal drops, right? This one was like 60% from the low. 60% from the retracement. This one was 53% from the retracement. This one was 66% from the retracement, right? So it's in these moments. It's in this moment where it becomes clearer. It's in these moments where it becomes more clear. It's within these moments which become more clear with the money flow coming out. Not that you couldn't say, hey, I think this isn't going to hold, right? But money flow is still kind of trying to play around here. It's really that money flow crossover that becomes very, very clear. So there you go. If you have Market Cipher B, you could come and put an alert here, right? If you're not someone who watches the chart all the time. Now, granted, if that money flow starts crossing over into the red, right, you're not going to be able to, it was literally the top signal here. Not the tippy top, but it's very hard to call that, right? You have to wait for that, you have to wait for the development. But, if you have that weekly money flow crossover here, you can come on into Market Cipher here, and you can set an alert, right? You do Market Cipher B, crossing down below the 0 line, and you would want this to be your money flow. So Market Cipher B, money flow crossing below the 0 line, you'll get an indication. All right, I'll even set this. I think I already have this set here, but all right. So if that money flow crosses over into the red, we'll get that warning, right? And chances are, it's hit every other time. So there you go. Shout out to Giga Longbottom, said, I'm a noob. I haven't profited from the bull market just yet. Well, shout out to Giga Longbottom. Stick with it, bro. Stick with it. Thoughts on OP? We could try to take a look at OP. Let's see. Jim Cramer buys Solana. I'm ready to short. Shout out to Kryptonite. Is that true? Did he actually buy Solana? Good Lord. Good Lord. I feel bad for Jim Cramer. Shout out to Baby Genius, said, take a look. My bro, take a look at WIF. I am either I'm tripping or this is prime time looking at the structure. Haven't checked money flow, though. Shout out to Baby Genius. I will take a look at WIF. I'll take a quick look at OP. We get rid of the bull market support band. OP. All right. So, yeah, nothing has really changed here on OP. This is, again, right, like, if Ethereum pulls back again, this is going to follow, right? And this is why I really have been not spending as much time just, like, looking at every single level on every single altcoin. But, from a high time frame perspective, right, here's your fair value between $2.68 and $1.04. This would be looked at as relatively undervalued based off your local price action, or your relative price action, I should say. And even if I pull this to the current, or pull this all the way back here, yeah, even here, right? Like, you've hit that value area low. The next target would be the POC, which is very close to this value area low. So even from this perspective, it's like you've already bounced off the low. The next target would be the POC at around $1.17. And when you look at it from this perspective with a clean volume profile, right, where's your overvalued asset? It's above the value area high. Overvalued, overvalued, overvalued. What happens every single time, especially when you have the bearish confirmations like you did here? Drop down, back into the profile, bearish retest, POC is next. Lose the POC, value area low is next. Once you bounce off the value area low, POC is next. You get chop, flip the POC to support, value area high is next. This is undervalued, this is overvalued. Longs, shorts. This is why volume profiles help so much, because this will increase your win rate. just alone, right? Because you're at least looking to short when price is overvalued, right? Now, you have to understand how to identify a real breakout or some kind of sign of weakness to look to rotate the range to the downside. There are times where you're eventually going to see a breakout of the range and a massive move up. But this is why volume profiles are so important, right? Because you could say, well, hey, if I see bearish signs up here, I also know this is overvalued and I could get back into the range and rotate in full. Same thing here. This is undervalued, especially when you have bullish divergences at the low. In this case, you do have the bullish divergences here sitting on the daily, right? Daily bullish divergences into your value area low, push into the POC, bing bong around, flip the POC, go to the high. This is overvalued. You look to get back into the range, bearish retest, POC is next, lose the POC, you go to the value area low. But what is happening now? You are deviated below your volume profile, right? So you would have to view this as somewhat undervalued. So from a long-term perspective, I would say if you are expecting alt season to eventually come in, right, this would not be a bad place to dollar cost average, right? Not financial advice. But this would not be a bad place for me to personally look to buy the dip, right? Because the anticipation here is this is undervalued. If we could get an impulse out of this local range and get accepted in here, well, we could rotate the fair value once again, going to the POC and the value area high. Just like up here, if you were looking to dollar cost average into a short, you would be looking to do it in the overvalued section, right, or area before coming back in and filling the range in full. So biggest level of support, the boom boom room sitting at $1.06, right? You get above this, flip it to support, it opens your doorway to come up to the POC and the value area high. Other than that, right, this is going to look almost exactly the same as everything else. Your 16-hour money flow looking suspicious coming to the downside. You have your 10-hour money flow coming out. You have your 8-hour money flow coming out. 4-hour is kind of chopped up like we looked at on Ethereum, right? So, I would watch this 8-hour money flow. If this continues down, see, 4-hour red dot printing. So, yeah, this is a waiting game. It's not even worth, in my opinion, to look at these lower time frames, right? You can maybe pull this as a range, right? Even if you deviate below this range, right? Like, it's not until you break out of this range where I would look to start to approach the value area low and then flip that to support and you get the bigger move up. So that's what I would look at on OP. Let's take a quick look at what was the other one we were looking at? WIF. So let's take a look at money flow on WIF. Well, let's take a look at the weekly. Weekly money flow is now in the green. VWAP looking across, below the 0 line. So we can look for that weekly green dot. 4-day VWAP coming up. 3-day VWAP coming up. This money flow has been in the red for quite some time. I would say, it wouldn't be unlikely that it is time to come up into a green wave here. So I would look for the next 3-day green dot. I would look for, 2-day looks horrible, though, on money flow. 2-day money flow looks horrible. 3-day money flow is, kind of choppy, to be honest. So, yeah, and then the 4-day money flow looking okay. 5-day money flow kind of just flat there. It's the same thing, right? Like, it's like if the alts pump, like, WIF is going to follow, right? So it's not going to be, like, in my opinion, any, like, secret signal here long-term that's going to, like, indicate that WIF is going to go before or after everything else. So it's kind of just like waiting for the rest of the market, right? This is why the alts have been kind of like boring to look at recently because it's like we're just waiting, right? There's no reason in covering like all these key levels every single day, like when we're just chopping ugly and sideways. It's really just these bigger levels we have to pay attention to. So me personally, I would say daily money flow trying to come out here. So this would be my same sentiment on the same sentiment I have on ETH, right? Like we get the bigger pullback on ETH. Like there's nothing about WIF that is just going to send it to the upside if ETH is pulling back, in my opinion. Right, I would say daily money flow is coming out. We could check the 8-hour, right? 8 hours in the red. Let's check the 16-hour. 16 hours in the red. Yeah, this is all chopped, to be honest. It's more of a waiting game. So I would just still say, like, biggest level. Like, I am not gonna get out of bed here until WIF breaks $1.41, right? And until there is that weekly, you still have time for the weekly green dot to print. You have the daily green dot right now, but with the way money flow looks, it doesn't, I wouldn't say, it's not like you have a massive, massive bullish divergence here with money flow coming up, right? So there's nothing like major, major signal. And it doesn't mean it can't pump, but there's nothing like screaming to me that there's some kind of like crazy signal here for a big move up. I would expect this to follow the rest of the market. And it's really not until you flip this value area low at $1.41 where I would expect the bigger move up to the POC and the value area high. So, yeah. And then if you really wanted to, you could pull this local profile on WIF as well. So, if you do get a move up, right, like say that daily green dot does give you a continuation up, it's like, well, hey, you're at the value area low here. So if you get above this POC, maybe you can continue up. But again, if ETH is going to continue down, you got to be real careful of lower highs and lower lows, in my opinion. All right, so something like this. If you get above this POC, I'd be careful of lower highs and lower lows. If ETH does not have to get the bigger pullback and it starts breaking out, well, you can look for a breakout of this range. And then once you start to impulse out of this range, right, this is our balanced area on price. Balance. If you impulse to the upside out of this balance, where are you going to get gravitated to? The next clean area of balance, which sits up here. So that's what I would look at. This local volume profile, if you want to get it on your chart, will be sitting value area high $1.10, POC 85 cents, value area low 80 cents. So there you go. That's what I would look at on WIF. Let's see. Shout out to Charlie Kirk Smiles says, what can we expect from ETH? Shout out to Charlie Kirk Smiles. If you go back just a slight bit there, or if you go back to the beginning of the stream, ETH was, I think, the first altcoin we took a look at. I covered it in full, short time frames, high time frames. So shout out to Charlie Kirk Smile. That low-key, that profile picture is low-key creepy. So, yeah, go just scrub back to the beginning of the stream, and you'll see ETH pop up, and you'll get the full sauce on ETH. Thank you for the super chat, bro. And we got Golden in the chat. Said, hey, Frankie, can you take a look at USD, the US dollar, LOL. Shout out to Golden. I don't know if that is a joke or if he actually wants to see the DXY. Or do you want to see just US? Maybe he's talking about USDT, which, by the way, I will just say, Golden, I'll save you the chart. Golden, USDT will break out one day. I know it's been stuck at that dollar level for so long. It's like that really big key level of resistance. USDT is going to break out, though. Trust me. It's going to go up. It's going to hit $1 million. Shout out to Golden. I don't know if that was a joke, but shout out to Golden. Drop those golden emojis in the chat if you guys have them, which I know a lot of you guys do. Or if you want to see the DXY. So here's the DXY. Well, let me pull it up over here. So yeah, I mean, DXY is, I haven't really been keeping, I really only look at this for like macro stuff. The dollar. Okay. Yes. Shout out to Golden. Not USDT. All right. Well, shout out to Golden. USDT will break out at some point. I don't know why it's stuck at $1 like that. If anybody knows, let me know in the chat. But yeah, so let's take a look at Market Cipher here on the DXY. And you know what we could also do here? We could pull up Bitcoin on top of this. Let me pull up Bitcoin on the Bitstamp chart. Let me get as much information as we possibly can. Okay, so let's see here. So just trying to see here. So this is the top of, let's see, 2017 real quick. Yeah, so looking at money flow, let me pull this up on the weekly. I mean, money flow is in the red. And, to be honest here, if we look at 2021, it's like, Bitcoin gets that final top, right? Like the DXY bottoms out, and as soon as it bottoms out, you get the first big top. And this is a little weird because it was a double top, but you get the dollar to come in. Bitcoin goes on its last rip to the upside. Then we got the fake out dump for another push to the upside as the dollar was coming up with Bitcoin. And in this case now, we have the dollar bottoms out pretty eerily close, right? If this is going to be the bottom, right? We have the bottom come in eerily close to, pretty close to the, it's pretty hard here, right? Because, like, what do you go off of? Typically, what we look for is dumps on the dollar, right? For pumps on Bitcoin, they're like usually inversely correlated, but that's not the fact. That's not the fact of the matter 100% of the time. So when I'm trying to like figure out something to take away from here, it's like I'm just trying to mark off the tops here on. Yeah, I mean, you can see the top came in on Bitcoin at the current top, right, or near the current top, right as we bottomed. This first top came in. Yeah, as we were kind of bing-bonging around. Then you get a second bottom, and we get another move to the upside. Yeah, I don't know if there's much to take away from this at this point. I used to look at the DXY. It used to be much more inversely correlated at one point. But what I would say is you are looking to print a weekly red dot. Your money flow is in the red, right? And this was a very, very big this is a very big signal that we were looking at on Bitcoin to see the another massive pump, right? Like the weekly money flow crossover on the DXY to see a massive push to the downside is going to do what, right? Well, it's probably going to give a move up on Bitcoin. And what happens? Weekly money flow crosses over into the red. Bitcoin gets the rip to the upside. But now it's kind of difficult, right? Because like, how are we going to see this play out? Is it going to be the same thing as 2021? Or like, could this mean that maybe there is a top here, or maybe the top could be in at 125K? Again, not my base case, but when you look at it, it's like, I don't know. Weekly money flow crosses into the red. We get the big move up. Weekly money flow crosses over into the red, right? And then what happens to Bitcoin, right? Weekly money flow crossover. Bitcoin absolutely skyrockets. Weekly money flow crossover. Bitcoin absolutely skyrockets, right? So, like, I would say it's like probably somewhere, relatively somewhere like in here. The question is, are we going to put in a massive double top for a new all-time high, or is the top kind of in? It's going to be something we have to let develop, but very hard to say. I would say like weekly money flow crossovers have essentially been bullish for Bitcoin, and it's not really, even on the next money flow crossover into the green, we still put in that last all-time high, and this is a little bit weird because I look at this as an inflated dead cat bounce. I think this was the real top on Bitcoin was up here. So, I'm not going to lie, guys. Like, if the high is not in, I still think if we put in a new all-time high, I think we're pretty close to the top. And that will change, right? If we come up on Bitcoin and it looks really, really good at 140K, and we look up to go up to like 100, it looks really good at 125, 130K, we can look for much higher prices. But I do think we are closer to the top if it's not already in. Altcoins, another story, right? Altcoins have a lot more room to run. But yeah, weekly money flow crossover, we've kind of seen this play out very similarly to what it has done in the past. And you are about to print another weekly red dot with money flow in the red. So hopefully that is positive for Bitcoin. So yeah, shout out to Golden. That was kind of like a in the moment, on the fly TA. So yeah, it wouldn't really be until we started seeing the weekly money flow cross back over into the green where I would start to say like, oh boy, top is probably in, right? But it's not really something I would look out to call the top. But I did try to compare the history to see what has happened in the past, and it has been very similar. The weekly money flow crossovers on, and even if I pull Bitcoin back up here, right, another weekly money flow cross. We had a few weekly money flow crossovers here on the DXY. One was here, and then one was here, right? So the first money flow crossover into the red. What happens? Bitcoin gets a move up, right? Second money flow crossover into the red happens here. This wasn't as inversely yeah, and it wasn't as inversely correlated, but we got a little move up. You kind of moved together at some point a little bit earlier. But then here, right, weekly money flow crossover, big move to the upside. So, yeah, I don't know. It's nice that we have the weekly red dot. If this was about to print a weekly green dot with money flow coming up, I'd be much more concerned about this dump, to be honest. So shout out to Golden. Hopefully that helps you out in some form or fashion. Yo, shout out to Dutchy. Said Golden is the kind of guy who buys a private jet just because he wanted the folding table. Shout out to Dutchy. I would agree with that. He's like, you know what? I like those mahogany. I like those mahogany folding tables on the G650. Well, we don't make those independently, sir. Give me the whole jet. Just rips the table out and scraps the jet. Shout out to Golden. Hopefully it helps you out, bro. I don't know how helpful that would be. Again, this is not something that, I don't know if it's going to call the exact moves on Bitcoin, but just trying to look back in history to see how things have played out in the past. But Bitcoin getting the continued local bounce here. So we'll see, guys. I'll tell you this. If you want to look for a continuation up here on Bitcoin for a push into our bigger level of resistance, which is going to be sitting at $115,000, right? If you're looking for that to come in, I would say the key level to break is going to be the 786 sitting at 113, 127. Get above that, then we could push up into this big level. But for me personally, guys, I am just holding my long position here. I'm still up 1,100, right? So I'm still holding this, and you guys won't let me take profit. 53% say let it ride. Some people say take profit. And 13% of you said close the entire position. So we'll see what happens. But I would say that 786 from the high to the low here would be the level to break above in order to indicate that we're going to come up there. If we come up there, this will be my mandatory TP. Regardless of what chat says, I will be taking profits up there on that trade. And then looking for potential short positions back down in case we have to come take this low. But for me personally, guys, biggest levels I'm waiting for, 115,000. 114 to 115.33, major level of resistance. Golden pocket 786, anchor VWAP value area low. And then down below us, we have the golden pocket daily MPOC between 108.33 and $107,000, the biggest level on the chart that I will be looking at. If you guys want, if you guys want more local analysis on Bitcoin, scrub back to the beginning of the stream, and you'll get all the sauce that you're looking for. But with all that being said, guys, I think that's all the time we got for tonight's live stream. Thank you guys for smashing that, or thank you guys for tuning in. Pennywise says, why no 1K likes yet, y'all? Shout out to Pennywise, our favorite friendly clown. Smash that like button on your way out. Short stream tonight, guys. Literally went overtime. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I just once I start going with the Mafia, time flies when you're hanging out with the Mafia. Should we do a hat hair reveal? Yo, check that out. That's some brutal hat hair. That's actually not that bad. Not gonna lie. But with all that being said, that's all the time. I asked that question, but it was more of a hint. Yo, shout out to Golden, guys. Golden, what do you know? Shout out to Golden. Well, there we go. Hopefully, I don't know. Did that analysis line up with the hint? Let me know, bro. But thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Shout out to K Diggity said, "Law, we love you, Frankie." Yeah, I don't know. I just can't get off here, guys. I mean, I don't know. I think about myself like, 7 years ago, it's like I would kill to do this. So I would just feel it would be impossible for me not to spend as much time as I possibly can. But thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you all tomorrow. Same place, same time. Shout out to Pennywise. Shout out to Giga Longbottom. Shout out to Phantom. Shout out to K Diggity. Shout out to Keeping It Real podcast. That was a short show. Absolutely, guys. Only 5-minute shows here on the Frank Candles YouTube channel. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time. Pray for Bitcoin. You have all the key levels. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah, you about to see me on demand like, on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put